Life beyond death can take many forms. Some of the poets among us may say that all you need to live forever is a good legacy, but that's just lame and stupid. But there's one form of undeath that stands out above the rest. The creatures of the night. The drinkers of hemoglobin, and the ones who work in the shadows to manipulate the world. In this video, I become one of these lords of the undead. We will begin as a pale, gaunt sunlight-derived creature and attempt to survive 200 days as a vampire. We begin, of course, by being born, infected with the disgusting disease known as sanguinaire vampiris. Unfortunately, though, that evening I was pimp-handed by an anorexic, and so we had to start again and make a new world. I don't feel so good. Once again infected with sanguinaire vampiris. Oh dear. Oh, monkeys! Hello. I'm not quite a vampire yet, though. It takes a good 24 hours for the disease to kick in, and until then, we're just a regular 4chan user. I thought I'd gotten lucky with my spawn, as there was apparently a portal nearby, but upon inspection found out I'd been blueballed because there was no loot chest to be found nearby. I think it had spawned right into the hill, and so I would have had to dig forever to try and find it. So I kept moving. I didn't have much time before I was become a vampire, and I wasn't sure if the second I turn into a vampire I'm going to start exploding under the sunlight. So I gathered my starting wood and continued on my way. I needed to find some shelter quickly. Now, alongside our vampiric destiny, there are a couple of other things that are different about this world. First of all, I have to make these two little table things in order to be able to craft my equipment. We can't just glue planks on the end of a stick. We're actually going to have to craft some stuff. I crafted a wooden pickaxe head, a wooden binding, and a wooden handle. And we can combine those three items to make ourselves a pickaxe. Brittle noob pickaxe in hand, I can now gather some stone, and we can design a new stone pickaxe head, which we can then plonk directly onto our wooden one in order to upgrade it. It's a relatively simple, fun, enjoyable, and moderately flavorful experience that has a lot of potential. Now I had my caveman tools, it's time I start gathering some resources. I gathered some coal, which I can use for fuel later, and also some extra stone. I also created a tool called a mattock. This can be used as a hoe, a shovel, and in a pinch, an axe. But it's not as good as any of those three tools. I don't mind using it for digging, though. The sun began to set, and I was filled with dread. This world is not friendly, let's say. Giant spiders and other insects dwell in the dark, as well as werewolf hunters, soon-to-be fellow vampires, and vampire hunters. There's also undead and creepers to worry about, but they aren't too much trouble. All you gotta do is smack them in the mouth and then evade, and then they blow each other up. It's beautiful. Now you might be forgiven for not noticing this small little camp over here, occupied by people wearing extremely tall and fashionable hats. These men are vampire hunters, and so we're going to avoid them. They won't be hostile to us. Yet. If I went over to them right now, all they would do is cure me of my disease. Quite rude of them. I want to become a blood drinker. Of course, for now, we're just some dude with a disease. But we're going to avoid the hunters, and we're going to make our own cool little campfire on the snazzy side of the beach and have ourselves a snack. Soon we won't be eating food, but that's soon, not now. There's no Wendy's in sight, so I'm going to have to make myself some dinner. A couple of snackingtons later, and I pretty much just settled in for the night. I don't want to be going out there into the forest where all the horrible things are, so we're just going to sit here on the beach where it's safe until morning. As the sun began to rise, though, it had become time. Time for my mortal life to end. But not before I noticed that a giant slime had managed to somehow fall from the sky and was sitting offshore. I gave him and his children a good stabbing and gathered their slime balls, and then continued on into the forest, at which point the transformation occurred. Oh no. We've done it. We begin our immortal life weak and fragile. In the darkness, we're actually faster and a little stronger than we were as a human. But in the sunlight, we are extraordinarily weak. It took me by surprise to find that I actually wasn't dying under the direct sunlight yet, but I'm certainly feeling the sizzle and not enjoying the experience. Once we increase our vampire level, the sun will become increasingly deadly. But in exchange for our weakness to the sun, we will also develop increasing strength, increasing speed, and increasing health. You'll notice now we only have 6 hearts to our name. This is because we're only a level 1 vampire. Basically just a disgusting little basement gremlin, but soon we'll become something much, much more. After I'd cleared the forest, I started annihilating some chickens. This was before I realized I no longer need to eat. My hunger bar has been replaced with a feed bar. Also, for future reference, I might sometimes be referring to blood as sangria. This is to avoid the YouTube censorship lizard men that live inside my walls. I entered what appeared to be some kind of haunted building and found a man that had turned himself into a pogo stick. Upstairs, though, I managed to find a smoker, which I grabbed, although it's now useless because, again, I don't need to eat anymore. I didn't find anything else in that little place, and so I began doggy paddling my way to freedom. I've somehow found myself in a jungle biome, and the jungles in this world tend to be infested with disgusting spiders the size of a small truck. I cannot emphasize enough how much I hate these things. Later, I found myself in a savanna biome that was filled with wasps or locusts or something, and was able finally to have my first meal. I decided on a kangaroo, and very quickly learned this was a bad decision. Australians usually are quite friendly, but if you try to steal their blood, they do have a tendency to overreact. Ah! Okay, that was a bad idea. Don't nibble the kangaroos. Bloody elephants. Glad I didn't try to nibble one of those. I found cows to be a much more agreeable source of sustenance, though they tried to run away as soon as I stopped nibbling them. It was quite annoying. Stop running. I need to suck. Right now, we have two goals. We need to find somewhere to stay, and we need a source of blood. This village I happened across seemed like it would do, but I noticed there were guards inside the village, so I would need to be careful. I did meet one of my friends, though. Apparently vampires also live in this village, and this vampire representative chap is actually going to come in handy later, as he gives vampire-related quests. These quests give various rewards, but we'll talk about that more when it becomes relevant. I didn't really want to eat from any of the villagers, in case that iron golem wandering around or the guards decided they wanted to murder me. I have very little hearts right now and need to be very careful. Before leaving the village, I popped into this house, which I thought would have vampire stuff inside, but it turns out this house belongs to a vampire hunter. Whoever it was, they weren't home right now though, so I grabbed some iron and quickly left. As I was snipping a few sheep during the night, I ran into one of my undead friends, and this chap happened to have a nibble on this sheep here. Took out half his blood in one bite. What a guy. I partook as well, and we became friends. His name is Bartholomew. It was then that I noticed Bartholomew had come from this forest here. This is a vampire forest. It's a biome in which vampires can naturally live. We don't take any sun damage while there, and it's also home to a few unique blocks as well as advanced vampires. Vampire barons and baronesses. Sadly, not every vampire is as friendly as Bartholomew, and some will attack me just like the spider is now. Get out of here! Trying to narrate. I clung to the shoreline until morning because I didn't want to run into any vampire hunters or giant spiders. Once the sun had begun to rise, I ignored the smell of burning bacon and built a boat and started heading out. My skin, it sizzles. Not enough for me to take damage, but enough for me to certainly not enjoy the experience. My journey across the ocean had brought me into a salt flat. There's not much here at all, except for giant spiders. Of course, there is no avoiding these things. They exist in every biome, but some more densely than others. Now, although there wasn't much here in the salt flats, I found myself becoming more and more attracted to it. The idea of an undead, reclusive creature such as myself living in a dead biome seemed pretty cool to me. So I thought briefly, maybe I'll live here. But then I realized I'm so low on resources, and I'm gonna be needing blood soon. So it's probably a good idea for me, at least at first, to live somewhere where I can easily get food. I did spy something of interest in the distance. This little pillar here is called a waystone, and it allows you to teleport to other waystones you've found. With only one of them, it's useless. But when I get another, it'll be handy. So I continued on my way, dragging my pasty whiteness over the sand dunes of the salt flats. Just before leaving the biome, though, I gathered up some sand. The reason for this is I'm going to be needing blood, and it's possible to just directly extract it from your victims, but it's also a good idea to bottle up some sangria for later. We might be exploring for a while till we settle down. I also gathered some clay, which we can later use to make ourselves some iron tools. The way that we do that is we combine clay with gravel and sand, and we can make grout. This stuff is a building material that will be used later. I would love to take a drink from the elephant. In fact, can I? Let's be a bit careful here. No, I don't think so. I'd noticed a few of these sort of reinforced fence structures around and wanted to have a peek inside. What's in there? Ooh, that's a lot of vampire hunters. Let's not go deal with them. Don't even really need food anymore, I've realized. Just as I was saying, I don't need food anymore. The seagull comes along and steals my biscuits. As my journey continued, I began to realize my sangria levels are running a little low. I need to find a source of blood soon. Right, where are we going? A frog! Oh, I love him. He is the best. As night fell, I was still in the salt flats, but I did find something interesting. I found an altar. This altar is used to develop vampire powers. This is an abandoned one. Its vampire master's long gone. But for me, it may come in handy in the future. I noted down its location. I figured we can come back here once we're a sufficient vampire level. I'm such a small, weak gremlin that it's actually useless to me right now. But I won't always be a gremlin, I promise. And we'll come back here when the time is right. In the morning, the strong bacon scent had returned. Also, my eyes have started glowing. The transformations have fully taken place. Again, I thought to myself this would be an excellent place to build a vampire lair. Everything's dead, I can see for miles. Only problem is, there's nothing to eat here, at all. No animals, no humans, no nothing. If you live solely on sangria like me, it's kind of a terrible place. And so on we continued, hoping to find a village that we could extract blood from. I was running desperately low at this point. I need a meal fast. I was running so low that despite my previous encounter with Australians, I decided to have another quick sip and very nearly lost my life because of it. Yep, he's attacked me. Oh god. Time to go. I then noticed I could have a sip from these emus, which seemed a better idea, but then he kicked me in the mouth as well. And again, I nearly died. Ah! Even the emus attack! Ah! Ah. Okay, we've eaten. I'm gonna have to find a source of food. And rather quickly. Let's make a furnace. We're going to cook up some sand. With this glass, we can make bottles. And then, if we do come across a village, we can store some blood for later. And not run into this starvation problem I'm having right now in the desert. And every animal I try to take a quick nibble from attacks me. It's very unkind. I left my glass brewing in the furnace and headed downstream to a lush area. I figured if there's grass, there's going to be grazers. Maybe we could find some cows or something. Annoyingly, the only thing I found was this rather small gazelle-looking thing. I extracted a couple of milligrams, but it wasn't enough. I needed more. More? What the hell is this? That is far too many legs. I'm being chased by insects. This is how weak I am. I nibbled on a raccoon, but he didn't like that either, so I had to keep going. And it wasn't until the sun started to rise on the 5th day that I'd finally found a meal that would sit still and enjoy the process. Yes! Oh, thank God. Okay, they can't be fed from a lot, but they can be fed from. What about the horses? Yes! Oh, these guys are good. Delicious. Okay, horses are awesome. Oh! What the hell? Did not see the wasp. What the hell are those things? They're giant hornets! The vampire gremlin has been pushed away once again. Just when you find a place to settle down, the giant hornets attack you. It was then that I found my second waystone, just sitting out here in the middle of a field. Now that we have 2 of these, we can set up a relay between 2 positions. Most likely to be wherever I end up building my base and wherever I end up growing my dinner. Cows are a great source of sustenance if you have nothing else, but they're not very good long term. I want good, strong, rich blood. Not like that guy. I was a little surprised by how good horse blood was before, but for now we have to stick to whatever small animals we can find, like this gazelle here. Cows are good too, but as I just mentioned, it takes a while to fill up a bottle, and they keep flailing around, annoyingly. Sit still! Jeez. Yeah, you see, from this whole herd of cows here, we've managed to get 1.5 bottles of blood. That's pretty poor. Especially since it takes more than 1 bottle of blood to fill my hunger meter down here. There are other means by which we could fill our hunger bar, but for now, bottling up sangria is going to be the most long-term method. I found my first piece of armor in a ruined portal. It was a piece of golden armor with a protection enchantment. It won't last very long, but it might help. The following day, I found an extremely cool redwood biome. But as is becoming a bit of a theme, I was then chased out of it by a giant scorpion, which decided to hunt me down. I tried to enter the woods from a different angle, but as you might see there are a couple of vampire hunters in there. So instead, we're going to keep moving. Half-starved and severely sunburnt, I decided to finally rest in this church here. You might say that an undead vampiric being like myself doesn't belong in a church, but there was already a vampire here, so I felt right at home. and immediately set to relieving these people of the fluids that sustain their bodies. I also found a few other useful things, some books, some gold, and importantly, a place for me to store my items. My inventory had been full for several days at this point. Since I was going to be staying here a while, one of the first things I did was board up the door so that my victims, I mean new friends, couldn't leave me. I then also trapped our vampire dude because he's an enchanter who sells enchanted books, and maybe that'll be handy later. I then tried to steal some of this armor that was sitting in the wall, and then put one of our 2 waystones down so that we could get back here whenever we need to. I named this place the Church of Globage. I then did some maintenance to my equipment. I exchanged my stone pickaxe head for a copper one. It's not much different, but supposedly is a little better the further you go underground. And then I read a new book that I'd managed to craft using the resources we'd found in the church. This book outlines the melting procedure that we'll need to upgrade our gear to iron. Next, my friends voluntarily gave up some of their fluids so that I could perform a ritual. The reason I'd been gathering some rather obscure materials so far is because I wanted to craft this blood container. With our blood container, we can then just use some wood and create this altar. We then simply fill this altar with the cow sangria we collected earlier today, with the volunteer sangria we collected just now, and then we just go boop, and the first ritual is complete. I am now vampire level 2. What this means is I'm now much more sensitive to sunlight. I will gain the weakness debuff in water, but I can unlock my first power, night vision. A few more rituals and I will be unable to travel by day, so visibility at night is going to be essential. It was now day 8, and although I had a nice place to stay, this place is only temporary. And I'm gonna need more blood and more materials in order to develop my vampire powers. I'm still a disgusting gremlin, and I don't want to remain that way for too long. Regarding Sangria, it appeared that there was a little vampire hovel nearby, but no one lived there. It's rather strange. Not 2 minutes up the road, though, there was another little village, right next to a vampire hunter lair. Apparently this place was called Dracomired. Must be some foreign name. But this place too happened to be a vampire village. That means a couple of the people who are living here are already vampires, and I don't take any sun damage here. Not that I would be taking sun damage at my current gremlin level anyway, but even as I develop my vampire powers further and become more sensitive to the sun, I'll be fine so long as I'm in a vampire village like this. One thing that was a little annoying though, is as this vampire village is right next to a vampire hunter village, there is a perpetual war happening, which is indicated by this thing at the top. I was able to give a few cheeky stabs to Perilous Paul here, but unfortunately this didn't seem to make any difference to the meter. I actually crawled my way into the compound to see just how many hunters there were. And upon stabbing my man in the raincoat here in the mouth, he dropped a human heart. This is a very important item to me. One of its uses is that it instantly fills my blood meter if I chew on it. But sadly, they're quite rare and only dropped by vampire hunters, so I'll have to ration the hearts that I do find. These little camps out in the wilderness can be a good source of finding more hearts, as the vampire hunters only tend to spawn one by one. But the problem is, if a stronger one spawns, you can die very quickly. So I don't like to play this game too much, but it can be good in a pinch. After resting at the Church of Globage for a while, I then set my sights to melting down some iron. The vampire hunters in their base up there are very dangerous to me. They're doing a lot of damage, and there's a hell of a lot of them. If I want to fight them, I'm gonna need armor and I'm gonna need weapons. I mean, look at this guy right here. He doesn't even have a weapon. He's just slapping me in the face and he's still doing 2 hearts of damage per hit. I did manage to lure a bunch of them into a corner and stab a few. This was a fairly good way of getting hearts. The problem was, though, when it came to grabbing them with their crossbows and everything, I had a bit of a tumble. Whoa, what happened there? Suddenly took a lot of damage. Oh, there's a guy behind me. That explains a lot. I rang the town bell to try and get a perspective on exactly how many hunters I'd have to fight here. And yeah, that's not gonna happen. I'll have to come back here when I'm more powerful. I had a quick chat with our vampire representative friend who lives in the village, and he offered me a contract to kill vampire hunters for a reward. I had to think about it, but ultimately came to the decision that I'll probably just die. So I'll come back and finish this quest later. On my way back to the Church of Globage, I thought I'd stop by the local animals and see if I can't fill up a few blood containers. I really want to get to vampire level 4 as quickly as possible. At that level, we develop the power of flight, and that's obviously going to be a big upgrade. I tried to drain this chicken, but I wasn't allowed. I don't know why. Chickens have blood, don't they? Tasty crispy blood. I briefly considered going to bed, but as the sun was already rising, I didn't see the point. Instead, I started building this. It's my smelter. If we heat this puppy up, we can smelt things. It has a very limited capacity and can't smelt the highest of materials, but it will work for simple materials like iron. We throw the iron in there and then just leave it to cook. Once we've got the apple juice of greatness, we then simply right-click our nozzle and molten iron will come pouring out. But before we do that, we need an item frame. I didn't have any sand by which to make an item frame, so I thought I'd spend the rest of the night draining my church homies. One of the ways that we can make item frames is simply by using these sand thingies and plonking an item into them. This makes a temporary cast that we can fill with juice. Then we just slap the old nozzle like so, and the juice fills the mold. Now we have an iron sword blade, we can make an iron sword. I actually found this iron sword I'd been using quite a while ago, but it's nearly broken now and does less damage than this one I'm going to craft. You might notice as I stab this man with the eye patch that we're not doing a lot of damage. Upgrading to Vampire level 2 the other night has rendered me more sensitive to sunlight than before, and my sizzle levels have also increased. Now I also have the upper body strength of the average Overwatch esports player. During the sunlight, my strength is drastically reduced, as is my damage. And if I go in this cave here, you can see that it's disappeared. Returning to lonely seclusion away from the sunlight restores my goblin powers to full force, but as soon as I step into the sunlight again, the strength is sapped. I'm going to be consistently making upgrades to my tools, so if you notice that there's a different color added to one of the tools down the bottom, that's because I've upgraded it with something like I'm doing right now with this sword hilt. See, if I add this copper bit onto my sword, it increases my durability slightly and also gives us a little buff. This light reading I have outlines all of the different materials and things that I can use. I'll go over the important ones, but I might not mention everything. The mod is called Tinker's Construct, by the way. Highly recommend. Very fun. I noticed my vampire quests were soon to expire. I didn't realize they had an expiry date when I accepted them, but it looks like I'm going to fail both of these. I did some exploring near my home and found another couple of hunters just wandering around, but not enough to complete the quests. As my short-term memory loss had kicked in, I went back to the hunter outpost to check again how many hunters I would have to kill in order to beat these guys, and again came to the conclusion that yeah, this isn't possible. And so I informed my vampiric friend that I would not be completing his quest and would instead be returning to my goon cave where I belong. Vampire quests are going to have to wait a significant amount of time until we have more powers. I mean, look at this. I've stabbed this man over 850 times and he's still alive. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he just died of old age there. It has nothing to do with me. I did find another chap in the village, though. This is a vampire expert. Another unique guy that's been added by the vampire mod pack. Not sure if I'm gonna need him just yet, but I'll have room in my dungeons if I do. Hello, raccoon. Can I have some of your... Ow! Stop that. During the evening, I was feeling the rumblies and all of the people I lived with were still low on blood, so I glorped a few nearby cows. It was then that the evening turned a bit interesting. I started chewing through the enemies on my way home before running into a pack of vampire hunters, who, unlike most of the hunters we've seen so far, seem to be hunting me specifically. There's a lot more hunters than I thought. There's still more of them. Okay, right, this place is, forgotten, I think. The hunters are too numerous, and they hurt as well, they hurt a lot. I'm gonna run to the bees. Save me, bees! Save the little gremlin boy! After my escape, I realized I wouldn't be able to go back to the church for a while, at least not until things cool down. One of the other things that I've noticed since I evolved into Vampire level 2, my hunger meter depletes extremely quickly in the daytime. Oh yeah, and my weak bones also extends to trying to destroy my boat. It takes like 12 swings. Anyway, I found myself in another village. This one is guarded, annoyingly. If it wasn't, I'd be able to help myself to these human beings, but since there are guards here, I need to be a bit sneaky. Hence why I'm just subtracting fluids from these people that are above me, and now we're gonna make a quick getaway before the guards find us. Oh my god. This is what I hate about not having a home and exploring is the giant spiders, man. I found myself a new place to stay, though, this dilapidated tower. I wanted to see if there were any hunters around before settling down, though. At first I thought it was another hunter tower and clenched myself in preparation, but upon hearing the noises of a familiar friend, came to the realization that I was wrong. This is in fact a magical sorcerer's tower for bandits and grey people. Once the guard outside was removed from the land of the living and this guard inside, I had free reign to explore. I knew there was one more man at the top of the tower. He's a wizard, an evil wizard, so there's no need to go up there. The beautiful thing is I can just stay down here and loot everything without going to the top. Inside a local chest, I found some spells, as well as some magical goo and other such amenities. But my inventory is staggeringly full right now. Upending my life very quickly in the way that I did, due to those vampire hunters, meant that I'd left most things behind, but also had a full inventory. So I needed somewhere to stay and had decided upon this little tower I mentioned earlier. It bared a striking resemblance to a wizard's tower, but I was far more interested in the barn. It looked nice and cozy, the kind of place a vampiric gremlin like myself could hide away in and not be found by vampire hunters. I had a peek downstairs to see if it was in fact a pyromancer's place again, and it was. Cheeky little chap. I asked him if I could stay in his barn, and I took his silence as a resounding yes. So I crawled inside and started getting rid of some of the cobwebs. This was actually quite handy because I don't have a ranged weapon right now, and I needed string to make one. First things first, naturally, I made myself some storage and threw everything I had brought with me in there. Next, I attacked a nearby tree until it had cowered in submission, and set about repairing the roof of the barn. I might not be taking damage to sun just yet, but as I didn't want to wake up in the morning with the complexion of a man from Edinburgh having walked under a full moon, I thought I'll fix the roof anyway. Besides, this means when we level up, we won't be at risk of dying in the sun. It was then that I noticed that there happened to be a vampire hunter nest right close by. Although this was just a small one, it did worry me that I hadn't noticed they were there until now. I don't know if they'd snuck up on me or if they'd always been there. Regardless, I relieved them of their lives. Thankfully, the strongest of the group was equipped with a crossbow. It was a simple matter of keeping his friends in between me and him, and I was able to deal with them quite handily. Oh, my man, I love your emo fringe. Because tonight would be the night that I... Sorry. Anyway, I killed the vampire hunters, that's the point. Upon completion of ending their lives, I got a couple of things. I found some vampire blood, which is weird. I don't know if I need that, but I also got some sick bling. It's a necklace of some kind, and I can equip it in my vampire slot. It apparently increases the duration of my freeze ability, which isn't terribly useful because as far as I'm aware, I don't have a freeze ability, but I'm sure it'll come in handy later maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I crawled safely into my barn for the night. I tried to lay down the vampire hunter tent, but I wasn't allowed to sleep in it. I don't know why. So I pretty much just secured a perimeter until morning. I didn't have any way to sleep, so nothing better to do. Now, by this time, I was really starting to get sick and tired of the smell of bacon, so I thought it's time I wall myself in. Traveling by night is far too dangerous. I may have 9 hearts now, but I'm too weak during the day. I can't fight anyone. I needed to do some reading, and staying inside the barn during the day seemed like the good opportunity. What I especially wanted to do was figure out how to make a ranged weapon. All of the string that we'd managed to find in the barn by cutting the cobwebs meant that I had enough string material to be able to make one. And thus I made myself a bowstring. With that, we were able to make a crossbow. Apparently I need an upgraded anvil thingy to make a full-sized bow, but this little hand crossbow will do for now. With this, we can shoot some enemies and be a bit safer. Once the sun had set, I crawled outside and got my way down to the beach. It was a gravelly beach, so I was able to find myself some flint to use for arrows. I knew I couldn't go back to my church yet, so I thought I may as well figure out what's around me. I found a shipwreck nearby, and within a buried treasure map. Buried treasure can be an incredibly quick way to get diamonds. And I'm not going underground with all these giant insects that we've seen. Not yet, anyway. The treasure led me some distance away from my barn, and I found myself low on health thanks to this spider who tried to glass me for the last $3 in my pocket. But then I made a new discovery, which is that seals offer little to no resistance for fluid extraction. Thank you, my slippery friends. Thank you for not assaulting me like so many other animals do. Also, good news, I found the chest relatively easily. Sometimes it takes ages to find these things. For me, at least. And I got 1 diamond out of this. And a heart of the sea, but I don't really know what I use that for. I got back to the barn and started experimenting with this diamond. I wanted to know what it can do. With only one of them, my options are very limited, however, so I'm most likely just going to be sellotaping it onto my sword. I did find a friend outside of my door. It's the Tasmanian Devil. I didn't want to stay out too long because the sun was up. He's not tame or anything, he just lives here. Anyway, I glued the diamond onto my sword. It now has a big boost in durability and damage. And I made myself some arrows as well, using the feathers and flint we found earlier. Now I can fight people with cowardice. I have that in spades. As night had fallen, I untombed myself and had a quick look around, and found out that apparently some monstrosity from the 7th dimension has invaded my world. Thankfully, he's some distance away over there. But I was a bit nervous that with him flying around, he may disturb me and I'll have to go and fight him. Which is something I really didn't want to do, considering my lack of health and survivability. And it was around then I ran into a new problem. Phantoms. I despise these creatures. Basically, I haven't slept in several days due to the vampire hunters chasing me away from home. And I am gonna need a sleep if I want these demonic flying rats to leave. I was kind of forced to go down to the pyromancer's basement. And it was then that I learned he's non-hostile. He just lives here, in the basement. I'm not really sure why I thought he was hostile. I thought maybe invading his goon cave would cause him to be aggressive, but no. Apparently he just runs a shop down here. All kinds of fire magic stuff. But it was good to know that I at least had a friendly neighbor. Well, it's good to meet you. I live just next door. I've moved in. Unfortunately, my sticky fingers got the best of me and I started going through his chest, which made him angry. Not enough to attack me, but apparently enough to get an achievement, having angered him. I decided to leave rather than suffer his wrath. I like my neighbor. He's a nice guy. Why are you in my house? Are you mine? Do you belong to me now? And listen, if you're going to be bunking with me, you're going to need to be quiet. I'll call you Travis. And I'm not going to drink your blood, Travis, so don't worry. Travis, what are you up to? Huh? Who's hurting Travis? Oi! Get him, Travis! Sorry, Travis. It was an accident. I'm sorry. No, Travis! Calm down! Travis is very angry with me. Fair enough. Okay, I think we've avoided Travis. Yeah, that thing over there is scaring me to no end. The following morning, I really began to starve. My blood meter was completely empty, and I was slow to a crawl due to my starvation. Travis wasn't much help. He was just making noises over there. At least he wasn't attacking me anymore. It then occurred to me while I was sipping on my sangria reserves that I still had another teleport thingy, and could perhaps teleport back to the Church of Glorpage without having to fight all the vampire hunters. I'm a bit embarrassed I hadn't thought of this until now. Anyway, I returned back to my waiting and excited to see me brethren, and had a quick peek outside to make sure there weren't any hunters ready to break the windows down. But there were not, and my holiday away meant that all of my friends had restored their blood levels to the medically recommended amounts. Which is good, because I am extremely hungry. What are you selling? Luck of the sea. You'll be lucky if you survive. We have some more glass bottles. Okay, everyone line up. I need a refill on blood. You've got lots of blood left. Due to the donations, I was able to refill our ritual thingy. But before we increase our sensitivity to sunlight again, I am going to create myself something to sleep in. This is a coffin, and this is my coffin. It allows me to sleep during the day, which means I can avoid the harsh rays of the sun and preserve my youth and beauty. This is also handy because now we can make ourselves some armor. I made this stone chestplate mold, and with that, we can use the gold inside the thingy to make a chestplate mold. And then we can melt down some iron and create ourselves some iron armor. I was constantly checking around myself to see where those vampire hunters have gone. I think I had lured them away from the church a fair bit, but it doesn't hurt to be too careful. While I was keeping my eyes peeled, I was also smelting down the iron necessary for my armor. I needed one segment of mail for every piece of armor I wanted to craft, and then I could use the templates to make myself my chest plate, for example, here. And then we just combine things on the table, like we have the other stuff, and huzzah! Iron chest plate acquired. Let's stick this on and never take it off. Oh, look at me, so fashionable, so gremlin-like, yet strangely arousing. With my relatively new store-bought armor and weapons, I went out and stabbed a few vampire hunters, in the hopes that I would get some more hearts. I didn't get one, but I was still enjoying the fact that I was no longer getting three-shot by these men, and was able to fight with relative invulnerability. One of the difficult aspects of this world, though, is that as I am becoming more powerful, so do the monsters around me. This includes vampire hunters too, meaning that if I'm not gaining power at an increased rate, monsters are going to be very difficult to deal with. Even though I've just got myself some armor here, it won't be too long until they're doing too much damage, and I need to upgrade it. or develop my vampire powers further, and that's the point. On the morning of day 14, it was finally time to use the results of the blood drive and summon the vampiric gods once more. I now have 10 hearts to my name. I've been restored to a regular amount of health. In addition to this, I've also gotten myself a new vampire power. It allows me to regenerate my health faster at the cost of my hunger, so it's sort of an emergency heal. Quite handy. But it will be more handy once we have plenty of food on our hands. These peasants that I live with are not regenerating their blood quick enough. What I want to do is unlock my next ability, which will allow me to fly, at which point the world will open up to us. I then stepped outside into the sunlight to see if we would start burning yet. And although it's now making me extremely unwell, I'm not quite taking damage yet. That will come at the next level, I think. We need a lot more blood for the next level, but I am going to try and rush to get there. Unlocking the ability to fly is top of my priority list right now. I headed back to the barn and threw my coffin down on the ground. I'm not going to lie, the nausea effect while in the sun is painful. It makes me feel genuinely unwell. Once night had fallen, now that I had some room in my inventory, I headed back to the tower nearby. Not the Pyromancer's tower, the other one. And nicked a few of the spells and things that were lying in chests. Feeling a bit brave with my new armor and weapon, I thought I might climb onto the top and try my luck with the magic man. But 2 spells in, I very quickly retreated. Bravely, of course, not like a little schoolgirl. And it was then that I realized our scaly, large friend had seen me. Has it seen me? Oh, I think it has. The hell is it? It's a Naga. Oh, it doesn't have much health. Okay, it avoids arrows. It spits acid. Good stuff. I don't want to fight spiders and that. Whoa. Okay, this thing is tough to kill. Ow! Okay. It spits poison. I thought it was a vampire. I was immune to that, but alright. Damn it. If I had more arrows. If I hadn't left them all behind. I think the bloke in here, though, he's fallen off. Yeah, there he is. Ow! Okay, I'm out. Come back tomorrow after I've healed and gained more blood from my congregation. That's what I'm going to call them. The Congregation of Blood. This Naga is still following me. Travis, run! Ah, how many arrows do we have? 6. Not enough. It's right outside. What if I can shoot it through the little slot here? Okay, he can hit me too. Just be careful here. Should be able to take it down. It's hard to land shots. Where's Travis? You okay, Travis? Travis! Okay, he's good. Yeah, he seems to have lost interest. Which is good because I don't have a lot of arrows. Doing a little bit of experimenting, I found out that attaching different gems and things to your sword can give it different effects. For example, adding this emerald here gives me a boost in durability and also makes me do more damage to villagers. Now, although I might be keeping villagers as livestock in a church nearby, I don't hate them enough such that I'm gonna go around stabbing them. Anyway, point is, I'm gonna be keeping my eye out for gems that I might add to my weapons and armor. There's quite a few combinations of things that you can add to your weapons, armor, and tools. For example, the severing buff and these 2 sharp buffs below it. There's also a bunch more molten metals you can make, as indicated by these different colors here. But we'll deal with that later. For now, I need to find somewhere else to live. I don't want to be living in this place with Travis nearby and giant snake creatures in the sky. I was quite fond of living in the barn, but now that there's a giant man smashing me with his staff, and also the Naga from the night before, I've decided to move to a different neighborhood. And so I headed out in the night. But I also made sure to gather some materials while I could, so that I'll have something to build a base with when I find a place to settle down. But as the sun rose and I was beginning to feel nauseous, I decided to turn back and head for the barn. I decided instead of wasting my time searching during day and night, I'm going to focus on my Sangria farm. If we can get to the next level and fly, getting wherever we need to go will be a breeze. The reason I'd been holding off was because I didn't want to start taking damage in the sunlight. But it's time to become a vampire man. So, who wants to be first, huh? Oh yeah, I forgot I changed the button. All these guys they're out of blood. I don't have enough. Oh wait, forgot about you. Oh wait, no, he's a vampire. I keep forgetting. So, let's fill this up again. Since my congregation were feeling weak at the knees due to my fluid harvesting, don't take that out of context, I decided to sleep until the following night. Instead of waiting for my people to regain the sangria I desperately need, what I could do is just cross the ocean and try and find another village. There surely can't be one too far away, and the waystones seem quite easy to find. All I need is one village that I can drain from, and then we should be good. We should have unlocked flight. Ever the goldfish brain, though, I immediately got distracted as I found another shipwreck with a buried treasure map inside. And of course, unlike the first, this one took me a long time to find. I knew it was at this beach somewhere, but dealing with the nausea and the weakness meant that my digging ability was heavily reduced. And it ended up being quite some time before I finally found the chest. Finally! Yes! 3 diamonds! Okay, we were rewarded for our pain. It took so long. It was kind of worth it though. We got 3 diamonds from that. But I did lose a whole day, and now it's nighttime again. I found another ruined portal. This one actually had a chest, but nothing terribly good. What was actually valuable was these magma blocks. They can be used later on when we make the smeltery and the forge. I was getting quite unlucky with my village finding though, and had to sustain myself on the wildlife I came across. I then found something quite strange. Apparently it was a vampire hunter that maybe got splashed with an invisibility potion, and now he's just a hat. His friends were very defensive of him though, he must be popular. Oh, it's day 17 now. Oh no, it's day 18. I've spent a lot of time looking for that stupid chest. I'm sick again. I don't like being in the sun. I found another one of those wizard's towers and stabbed the men inside. I didn't bother with the bloke at the top this time. He's scary. I did manage to grab a couple of diamonds and this new sword, actually. It's called a mage hunter. It cannot be crafted and does more damage than my current diamond iron sword. So I'm going to be using that for a bit. During the night of day 18, I thought I'd finally found some civilization. A place where I could gather the B-negative material I needed. A mushroom city. Annoyingly though, the only people who were here were extremely aggressive cow people with violent tendencies. Oh, yeah, they're angry at me. Oh, jeez, they hit very hard. Run. Oh, that wasn't very nice. After taking that worryingly high amount of damage, I had a quick look into what I can do to upgrade my armor further. Similar to the tools and weapons, you can just add modifiers as you like. Unfortunately though, it looks like I'm going to need this anvil to do so. And it requires a lot of diamonds. So that's probably going to be something we do in the distant future. And for now, we keep focusing on our vampire powers. I quite like the spooky woods. They're quite cool. But there are giant spiders in these woods. There's one. On day 19, I finally found my first village, only to be kicked in the balls later when I realized that there were no extractable human beings here. There was 1 vampire adult and 2 vampire children, and no teleporting stone either, so I had to keep moving. Later on, in a different forest, I found an interesting looking building. It turned out to be some kind of dungeon or something, but as it was filled with undead, they didn't mind me being there. As nice as my howling undead chums were, though, they didn't have much by way of rewards. There was a lot of iron, I will admit that, and I also gathered some coal blocks, but that was pretty much it. Very underwhelming. So I said goodbye to my destitute undead friends, climbed onto the roof, and yeeted myself from the top of the building. I'm sure this would have been quite a surprise to anyone looking out of the window, but I don't really care at this point, I'm just looking for a new village. I dragged my stanky undead feet across ice and snow and grass plains and deserts, but the only village I found was the ones that tend to be in the sky. I'd had about enough of exploring at this point and decided just to settle down there. I figured there might be a teleport point at the top, and at the very least there'll be villages for me to extract from. I wasn't even sure if I had enough blocks to get high enough, and after getting about halfway I was beginning to think I was going to run out. My foresight earlier to gather wood though came in handy. Yes, I see the villagers now. You're a villager who looks down, you see this little gremlin guy just building up towards your sanctuary in the sky. Suddenly set off a few alarm bells. Even this place isn't safe from vampires. Use all of my damn spruce logs to get up here. I'm nearly there though. And then we feast. Yes! Oh, hello. I'll take these. Thank you. Hello, friends! There wouldn't happen to be a teleport thing here, would there? If there isn't, I'm gonna be annoyed. I don't think there is. Oh no. In which case, I'll have to gain as much blood as possible and then continue to try and find another village. There's no waystone here. Ah, that sucks. Without a waystone, I can't go back to where I was before. Okay, let's start harvesting, I suppose. What do you sell? Maps. Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason I'm drinking from you. Damn map sellers. Farmers! There's lots of villagers here. Plenty of villagers here, some might say. And they don't need all that blood. We have 6 bottles of blood. That's good. They're gonna tell tales about that time a gremlin guy came up here, stole a bunch of their blood, all of the emeralds from their land, and then left. I'm gonna come back here, they're all traumatized. No, I'm kidding, I'll never come back. So it'll literally happen once and never again. But they'll always be worrying that I'm gonna come back. Now that my forceful blood drive had been completed, I simply leapt from the top back into the ocean below. Got into my boat and started searching for that teleport waystone that we desperately need to get home. After many painful hours of searching for a new village, I finally found one, only to realize it didn't have a teleporting waystone. My neurodivergence was beginning to show, so I knew I had to find a waystone quickly, and by complete chance, as I left the village, ran into one in the plains. Finally! I've been out here for so long. Yes, take me back to church. The Church of Glorpage is 9,000 meters away. I'm back, boys! Are you excited to see me? I'm sure you are. Oh, you're all still low on blood. I suppose I've been so far away. Ah, it's good to be back, lads. It's good to be back. Good to see you all. Okay, let's try, fill up this blood tank, shall we? I poured all the sangria that I'd collected over the last few days into my receptacle, but still did not have enough blood to level up to Vampire level 4. Being impatient, I thought what I'll do is just teleport to any of these villages that we've discovered, and see if I can't find a few homies to extract from. I went to this place, Drakmarad, and although I have no memory of ever being here, it seems like it'll do. Although there was a vampire hunter representative in the village, luckily, he's an indoor man and doesn't like to come outside. The sun may have risen, but I was hoping I'd be able to quickly get through this vampire level. So I started extracting, but then a golem threatened to send me to the Shadow Realm, so I quickly made an escape. And in doing so, noticed a priest at war with a spider.
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
And that spider has definitely ruined my day. That thing's the size of a large cat. The priest won though, and thank God. Returning to the task at hand, I was eager to be able to get to my next vampire level. Problem was, with so many guards around, I was worried they would attack me. But I needed to test if this was true, so I decided to take a cheeky sip from this young lad, and the guard didn't seem to mind. Then, all of a sudden, he minded a lot. Run. I should have expected this. It's okay, we're healing. Very slowly though, because it's daytime. We should come back here at night. Back to the church. Obviously, in order to get the sangria I desperately need, I'm going to have to deal with the guards. And I figure it'll be a good idea if I return to a time where attacking people isn't akin to slapping them with wet sausages. Now that the goblin hours were upon us, my strength had been restored. But that doesn't mean I had more courage than before. I still stood back a good distance and aimed for the eyes. One down, I moved on to the next. Or at least I would have if I hadn't noticed a villager sitting helplessly on top of a roof over here. I couldn't help myself, my animalistic instincts took over. He was just sitting there, taunting me like a half-eaten kebab after I'd been on the Jaeger. After he had been glorped though, I got back to the task at hand. I'd happened to notice for some reason this bloke here, although he's using a crossbow, is unwilling to fight melee combat. His 2 friends weren't the same though, and ended up chasing me out of town. As much good work as Astarion for Baldur's Gate 3 did, it seems that the prejudice surrounding vampires is still very much alive and real. Once I got to a lake though, I managed to separate him from his friend, and a couple of nearby zombies, and I managed to scissor him. I mean pincer him, not scissor, god damn it. I refueled on a nearby sheep and headed back to the town. There should be 1 guard left. Ow! Okay, there's just a random hole in the ground. Oh! Ah! You fell for the random hole in the ground trap. Ha ha ha! Noob. I will say taking out the 2 remaining guards was a bit of a hassle. Although they seem to have problems firing their crossbows, apparently I weigh about the same as a small bag of tomatoes. And it didn't even matter that their crossbows weren't working, they were still batting me around and almost killed me. I had to sip on a glass of sangria just to stay alive. These guys suck. Oh, half a heart. Okay, I'm gonna activate my healing. Run. What if I did this? Can you hit me? No. You still can't hit me. I'll show you how to use a crossbow, mate. You don't just point it at people and then bash them with it. That's how you use it. The last chap finally figured out how his crossbow worked, which was good, because all the chainmail I'm wearing means I'm quite resistant to projectiles. Now that he's chosen the worst strategy he could have, I was able to end him. Yes! Okay. Now that dinner was unguarded, I could gather as much sangria as I needed. And once home, filled up my chalice once more, and performed a new ritual. This is the final ritual I will be able to perform in this primitive container. Now we evolved from a gremlin-like vampire to a slightly less gremlin-like vampire. I still look hideous, but I was born that way, and don't be mean. So what is this power of flight I've been alluding to for so long? It's the ability to turn into a bat. In terms of mobility, this is extremely useful, but in terms of survivability, it's kind of terrible. If you'll notice, when I turn into a bat, I lose all of my armor. Not only that, but I also lose all of the resistances I have as a vampire. And I cannot fly during the day. Now, it might sound that the list of weaknesses is much greater than the list of benefits, but don't worry, you'll see how useful this is very soon. Firstly, as long as I leave just as the sun begins to set, I can get a whole night of traveling in. It allows me to cross vast distances very quickly. I will say though, blood fuels the transformation process, so I get hungry quite quickly while I'm flying. Hello, I'm with the Department of Blood Collection, and you've been selected for a random donation. Please lie there still. You can continue sleeping with your eyes open, don't worry. This won't take a minute. One of the best things about being able to turn into a bat is no longer do I have to spend many days traveling to try and find these teleporty thingies. I listed this new place down as Zorkberg so that I could come back here later for blood if needed. Now, as I mentioned earlier, along with my transformation, everything around me also tends to level up. As you'll notice, there's Enderman almost slapping me into the ground. It's quite hard for me to outpace the difficulty of the world, but as my powers begin to snowball, I will begin to outpace them. The biggest downside of our flying ability, of course, is the fact that I can no longer be out during the day. I will die extremely quickly under direct sunlight. No longer does it make me feel a little queasy, I just get lit on fire and die. It's quite the allergy. Allergic to fire. I don't know how I'm gonna live with this, but we'll have to make do. The good thing, of course, is that with my increased mobility, I can easily find new teleport things, get back to the church, and sleep. And so for a couple of days I wandered, farming sangria where I could, of course, but more importantly, just looking for a place to settle down. I was flapping around for quite a while, but didn't find anything too compelling, though I did find this strange-looking place. I was hearing angry noises coming from inside, so I didn't want to stick around, but there was something incredible I found. I channeled the power of Zelda, smashed a pot, and managed to get a pocket full of amethyst. This was highly engorging. Finding amethyst geodes is a pain in the rectum, and I will be needing amethyst later on. At the beginning of day 24, I had found it. If you remember a long time ago, we'd found a ritual altar in a salt flat biome. I quite liked the biome, but there was nothing living there. But now, with our waystone system and the villages that we've found so far, moving to such a biome is feasible. And so it's time we return to the dry, pasty, salty biome where I belong. As I arrived, I noticed something interesting. It wasn't raining, but I wasn't taking damage from the sun. The reason for this is there is currently a rainstorm happening, but the salt flats are so dry and lame that it doesn't even rain here. It just gets quite foggy. The fog, though, is enough to protect me from the sun, meaning I can sustain my bat form during the day and do things like build without roasting up. Arriving at the coordinates, I found the ritual altar we'd found at the beginning. And this is how I'm going to be developing my vampire powers even further. It's not relevant for now, though. And to be honest, it's not high on the priority list right now. I need shelter, and quickly. This rainstorm/fog won't last forever, and as I don't have any sunscreen on me, we're going to need some shade. Very sharpish. As I was worried the rainstorm could stop at any moment, I actually set myself up a temporary little shelter. It's not much, but it's somewhere I can run to if the sun suddenly comes out. Next, I planted some trees. There's pretty much nothing alive here, but that doesn't mean nothing can grow. My hope is that if I plant trees in a 2x2 pattern, we should be able to get some wood. I set to clearing the land. I needed somewhere flat to start building my base. But then, rather suddenly, the storm ended. Oh, crap. Hello? Ah! Okay. Well, it's obvious when it's not stormy and the fog's gone. Now I'll show you what amethyst can be used for. Basically, you can melt it down with a forge and get a liquid amethyst. It's one of the gems that can be added to weapons and tools to give a new enchantment. And most importantly, it can be combined with molten copper to make amethyst bronze, which, in addition to its fashionability, is a material upgrade to our crappy iron stuff. Without leaving my gremlin shelter, I placed down one of our waystones and teleported back to the barn. I grabbed a sleeping bag, headed back to the salt flat, and had a quick nap. After the sunset, I could continue preparing the ground for my habitation. Of course, the most annoying thing about my life at the moment is, since I can no longer live during the day, my only available time to build, which is when the sun has set, there also happens to be horrible monsters around at all times. So I have to spend the first half of the night simply defending myself before I can get to building. Of course, one of the good things about being undead is the skeletons and zombies leave me alone, and in fact I can often tag team enemies with them, like this scythe-wielding Reddit user here. And the other great thing about having friends is you can stab them and they won't expect it, and steal their bones. Bones which can be used for tools, as they give the pierce buff. As soon as the sun rose again, I of course went to sleep, and immediately started building a house out of salt. My thought process was that as long as I have a little shelter, I can do something during the day, like mine or watch anime or something. Turns out it was a pretty good time to start doing this as well, as it was currently a blood moon unbeknownst to me, which is why you might notice the Homeowners Association are all out and wandering around. Quite the monster mash at the minute. One of the beautiful things that occurred to me while I was building is that vampire hunters will surely be extremely rare here. There's no water or anything for them, so I don't see why any of them would come looking for me here. Of course, that doesn't mean I'm safe, being hounded by spiders and huntsmen and all kinds of other things. Once I finished my little shelter, I decided it's time for us to go visit the neighbors. Vampire Sneeve approaches.
Sneeve the vampire! Ha-ha!
Hello. You wouldn't happen to have any blood on you, would you, dear Charles? Let's fill up these bottles. Hello, my boy. Sorry, lads, I'm sure you don't mind. Just gonna borrow quite a lot of your blood. You'll grow it back, don't worry. No need to over-dramatize things. Stop pushing him. It's hard to feed from him if you're pushing him away. Once I was home, I started cooking up some sand. It's about time we put some glass windows in here so we can keep an eye out. While I was out farming skeletons for bone meal, I noticed one of the locals. This is one of the only creatures that tends to spawn here during the day, the tarantula. I wish things weren't that way. I hate these things. But like Copernicus says, it is what it is. In the morning, I built a front door and accidentally opened it, allowing a child to get inside. I wouldn't have minded, but he appeared to have asthma or a throat infection or something. Am I just living with you now? I'm not ready for kids. Okay, I'm gonna call you Gunter. Gunter? What are you doing in here? Do you have to be in here? Is that absolutely necessary? You are going to be making a lot of noise if you stay in here, Gunter. Gunter! Calm down. Gunter stuck around the whole day while I was putting the windows up, but then disappeared. I think he was kidnapped or something. I wasn't really paying attention. I'm noticing we get a lot of huntsmen here. We're necromancer. So we get those huntsmen to fight the necromancer. Whoop. Ow. Okay. Indoors. Okay, they get them. Ah, you missed. Whoop. Heal. Activate my healing power. Keep skirting around while I heal. I don't know if I can shoot him. Missed. Damn it! I hate messing with a bow. Then you have to wait 3 business days to attack again. Ow. What does that even mean? Targeting me with blight? Let's see if I can shoot him. There he is. Ah, I missed. Whoop. Ah. Oh boy, that was a very near death. Okay. Okay, we're going to Snack Town. I'm gonna call this place Snack Town. It's what it's gonna be called. I was just saying that as a joke, but Snack Town is a good name. Everyone to Snack Town! I'm back! Did you miss me? Of course you did. No need to ask. The lovely villages of Snack Town. We could go to a vampire land and try and find some of this dark stone. Looks quite good. Cobbled dark stone. I assume that's just stone that's in a vampire land, so it could definitely be done. We just need to find a vampire land. I don't know how far away that would be. Let's gather some wood. One of the nice things about being able to turn into a bat, of course, makes gathering wood very easy. Yes. So I suppose we need to find a vampire land. We need to find a vampire land and we need to go mining. Let's see what stone is beneath us, actually. I'm just curious. Or even if there is stone beneath us. I don't even know. Okay, well, the salt's quite a ways down. Ah, okay, we do get to stone. Okay, let's grab some stone. We need it. We need this stuff, and anything that could come with it, be it iron or redstone or anything. Redstone would be very nice, actually. Diorite, cool. Oh, hello, iron. Let me take you. Copper. Actually, not useless. Need to repair a pickaxe. Oh yeah, and I think I'll throw a diamond on my pickaxe. Let's heal it first. Big increase in mining speed, drastic increase in durability. Excellent. Ugh, how about no? That's a no from me. There's a vampire there as well. A lot of vampires down here, I'm noticing. How's it doing, Jeremy? What did I even just say? How's it doing? How are you doing? Or how's it going? Jeez, sorry. Oh, it's so nice being down here without having to worry about all of these men that I would have to fight if I was not undead. Never mind. Yeah, shoot him! Let's get out of here. I think this was the way out, right? I may actually have gotten lost now. Yeah, I definitely have. Hello. What is this? Magma bomb? Sounds good. Let's try to find where we came in. I knew it was near this mine shaft. Oh boy, it's our friend again. It's a completely different one as well. Ugh, I hate them. What is this? Is this cobalt? I've heard much about cobalt. Power crystal. What? Oh, that sounds awesome. Especially since everything's hurting me real bad at the moment. I don't think this is the right way at all. We may have to dig our way out. Wow, this is a cabin and a half? Bloody hell. Screw it. Let's just dig our way out. Oh. Oh, I don't need to breathe. I keep forgetting that. Screw it. We're going straight up. Ah! Oh, I'm in the sea. Well, I got very lost, didn't I? Oh, the sun! Okay, we're gonna hide in the coral. Ah, that was close. Really, I completely forgot I was a vampire. It's an easy mistake to make. We're gonna have to wait here until nighttime, I guess. There is a mantis shrimp punching the hell out of crabs around me. Good lord. Never thought I'd become one with the mantis shrimp. Oh, he's punching Nemo. Good god. He just decimated that man. Okay. Looks like we're good to go. Whew. Very nearly fried myself there. Glad I didn't. Right, which way home? There's a blighted kangaroo there. Oh, I wish I had some carrots. How far away have I gone? God, it's not one of those bloody things. I'm sick of these. What the hell? Yeah. Enough of this. And another one. DJ Khaled. Ah, I recognize a few trees that don't usually belong in this biome. Ah, we're home. Right, let's not get lost like that again, eh? Sadly, we didn't get enough power crystal shards to be able to make one of the things to give us a permanent damage boost. But we did get some other stuff. Namely, all this redstone. Let's put diamonds on the rest of our armor while we're here. So this is how we do. Now we're kitted out, son. On day 29, I extended the mine a little further. Last time I was just flying around caverns, but this time we're gonna make a mine exclusively to ourselves. No giant spiders, thank you very much. Once the mine was carved out, I then flew back up to the top because I desperately wanted to stop by the barn in order to grab all the stuff we've left behind. There's an elephant out there. Hello? Oh, it's a wandering trader. Disgusting. It was then I realized I can now name my home. I don't know why I wasn't able to do this before, but I've named my home Sangariaville. A reference, of course, to the famous song by the French singer, Jimmy Buffet. Next, I popped back to the barn because apparently I'd left all of my life here. I thought I'd brought most things with me, but no, there's a lot of things that need carted over. Once the storage had been sorted out, I then headed back down into the mine to gather more blocks. If there's one thing vampires are known for, it's having a magnificent home. A home in which ancient beings can perform their dark deeds. And I want my home to be both intimidating, brutal, and flavorful. To get the right vibe, we're definitely going to need darker blocks. I knew I needed a lot of this deep slate because that might work, but I also had a second idea. Apparently vampire lands have a unique type of stone beneath them, and later on we'll go to one of them and see if it'll work for our base. While performing my labors, I of course made sure to get anything good, and this is by far the best thing I found. More of these power crystals. To reiterate, if I get enough of these, I can increase the damage I do permanently. I was quite excited, so I gave up on my deep slate and zoomed back up to the top, and quickly grabbed the other ones we'd found and made my fist. Yes, a power crystal, in the shape of a power fist. Now we just eat this. Ding! And now we're slightly stronger. I don't really know what that means. Increases base attack damage, by how much? Doesn't say. Helpful. The way that I'm spending my time right now is I use this clock to tell whether or not it's sunset, at which point I can get out of the mine and start building again. And can also do things like explore, where I ran into 2 neighbors of mine, Mazdalia and Magic Mike, and also learned that the phantoms have still not left. Good lord, that phantom just ate my eyes. We're currently traveling south because if memory serves, there's a vampire biome down there, and I desperately want to try out some of this vampire stone, see if it'd be a good material for my base. Now the question is, I know that higher level vampires can spawn here, but what else? Not seeing a lot of creatures. Oh, this place is pretty... Okay, never mind. Oh, there's the stone I was looking for. So this stuff is called cobbled darkstone. One thing I am noticing as I'm mining this though is that my pickaxe is very slow. I've thrown some redstone on it, which speeds it up a little bit, but I need a different material, I think. And for that, I need to upgrade my smelting devices. And then we'll be able to get this stuff, cobalt. Apparently it's found in the Nether, but I'll need a smeltery before I can get it. For now, we just have to resign to our fate and mine this stuff at a painfully slow pace. As I was flying home, I had a sudden brilliant idea that perhaps I could build some kind of floating shelter above my base so I could keep building during the day and not have to go into my coffin or underground. I didn't have many blocks, but I started putting my plan into action when I got home. I did have a few salt blocks, so we could at least get started on this idea. I was about 20 blocks into my idea before I realized a roof. What I'm describing is a roof. I just thought I came up with a brilliant creative idea, and what I invented was a roof. So stupid. That night I thought I might do some more building, but the flying nut gobblers outside still weren't leaving me alone. So we're gonna have to sleep through the night, which is a strange thing to be doing as a vampire. But there we go. In the morning it was day 30, and I suddenly realized that there's one thing I've been forgetting this whole time. I can make umbrellas, and they mean I can go outside during the day and not get roasted. Bing bong bing, and then you go there, and this. Umbrella! Yes! Now I am truly a man. Only problem is it doesn't last forever in the sun, and also slows me down drastically, so I don't really want to be using it much. It will solve our building problem. We can now build in the daytime. Now that we have our umbrella, I'm gonna remove the evidence of my stupidity here. And we can also lay the foundation for our vampiric tomb. As night fell, I had finished the outside foundation. It wasn't actually finalized yet, but it's more of just a rough boundary area. Now I'm moving on to the floor. I'm gonna make it out of spruce, that way it'll contrast nicely with this purple block we've got. While I was working, another vampire chum turned up. He was just sitting there. Menacingly. Oh, never mind, it's just Magic Mike again. Oh dear God. Merciless Mike, run! Oh God, it's after me. You know what? Now's the perfect time for me to leave. Oh, how about no? Disgusting. Of course, it's right in my house as well. Right, we're going home. Well, we're not going home. We're going to the feeding place where we will extract the sangria from our willing friends. Where are my villager friends? Hello, I'm back. Oh, you're all still got no blood in you. He's got a little bit. Oh, this guy's got some. Wait. Mr. Healthy over here. Oh God, how many spiders? 2 giant-ass tarantulas right here. As I was flying home, a swarm of pumpkin men decided to attack me. It's not the strangest thing that's ever happened to me, but it is near the top 5. I thought I was supposed to be friends with the undead. Halloween or something? I spent all of the night and through to the morning of day 31 fighting them off, but eventually they were defeated. I was now distinctly hungry and only had about 5 minutes to get home before I would start taking sun damage. So I quickly popped over to the Church of Glorpage, where I'm extremely popular, and accidentally screwed myself over. Turns out this chap sells human hearts at a good price, 3 emeralds. That would have solved my food problems. But due to the fact that I stole this man's blood just earlier, he's now trying to extort me. Whereas before I could have gained enough hearts to last me a lifetime, now I can only afford to buy 1 lot of them. But now that I've made that purchase, hopefully this price will come down eventually. And he'll forgive me for stealing his blood. Of course, first things first, we're gonna entrap this man. Oh, stop trying to escape. There you are. There we go! A new prisoner. Now, I mentioned before we need to increase our smelting capabilities to get better materials. For that, we need to build something called a smeltery, which will also allow us to combine different fluids and make alloys. We'll do that soon, once we run out of materials again. I've got plenty of wood for now, so we'll at least get the floor in. And so I spent the rest of the day and the night putting in the floor. And on day 32, I was about done. Yes! Okay, we're done. We've done these 2 floors. We have to think about entrances. I quickly took all of the storage out of the hut and placed it under the sunlight, which was perhaps a foolish decision. But the reason was, you might notice that the hut is currently sunk into the ground. I didn't think about this, and it's kind of annoying jumping up and out every single time, so we need to move the hut up 1 block. Once I'd moved the hut, I then crafted a shield. You basically place a block down and then pour some iron over it. We now have a iron plate shield, which is modifiable like our other stuff. Next, I built the smeltery controller. What you do is you place a block in here, and then you pour copper on it. For some reason, this creates an electrical device that can control a smeltery. Don't ask me how that works, I just work here. I then used a lot of our grout in order to make some of these bricks, which we can also use to build our smeltery. And then poured some goo onto a book, which for some reason made a handy new manual for me to read. It's basically a tutorial on how to build the smeltery. Once I've read this, I will know the secret. And for some strange reason, this manual includes a self-portrait of a muscular man bathing in maple syrup. Why? I learned many interesting things, though. Apparently you can melt villages for emeralds. Ah, that sounds pretty good. Certainly gotta be some kind of war crime, I assume, but oh well. See, I've got a problem here. I need to use the anvil to repair my umbrella, but I can't take my umbrella off without burning. So, we're gonna make a little shelter right here so that I can use the anvil without burning. There we are. That and that. A few of those. The following day, I decided to carve out some space for the smelter. I have plenty of space above ground, but the problem is I can't build during the day. So we'll just make a basement and put it in there for now. And I can just follow my handy how-to manual here and just place the blocks down and it should work. Now I thought what I had to do was put lava in here and then fill it up with iron, and then that would mean that I now have melted iron. Turns out that is not how it works, and instead I seem to have created some kind of cursed fondue. What you're actually supposed to do is fill the fuel tank with lava, and then leave the iron in the middle to melt. What I had done is basically sprayed gasoline all over my fish fingers and wondered why things weren't going to plan. Now that I've put the fuel in the right receptacle though, everything seems to be working. And I can melt all of this iron at once, which is extremely nice. I had noticed in my list of recipes that apparently gold can make cobalt. And it would be nice to be able to get this stuff without having to go to the Nether. I don't like that dimension. It scares me. So I quickly headed down into the mine, stabbed a spider in the mouth, and managed to find some gold lying around. But after melting it down, all I had was a big soup of molten gold. Didn't have any cobalt at all. I felt cheated, lied to, and damaged, but don't worry, I had another backup plan. If you remember, we found all that amethyst earlier. We're gonna nab some of that and we're gonna melt it down. We're gonna combine it with copper, and that should give us amethyst bronze, which is an upgrade to our iron. Put in 8 of those. Let that smelt down. Yeah, we put in 8 of these. Let this stuff smelt down. There we go. Now we've got it. We got the goo. Amethyst bronze, eh? So now we can just squeeze it out somehow. And now we had some blocks of amethyst bronze. It's pink and stylish and is apparently better than iron, so... and the ball fondlers are back because I've been downstairs machinating for the past week and haven't slept. This is really annoying to do, but it's the only way to get rid of the phantoms. I've basically got to sleep till day, then because it's day and I need to go out and gather materials, I'm going to sleep until night. We basically lose a whole day just to get rid of the blue fondlers. See, this is what I need more gravel. I need flint for arrows, and I also need the gravel itself to be able to make more grout. And if you remember earlier, I said magma blocks are going to be useful in the future. If we pour melted magma blocks onto the gravel, we can also get scorched stone, which can be used for a few things. But most importantly, we can use it to build our beautiful, stylish anvil. This thing is basically like our tinkering table, where we can throw things together, except now we can combine 5 different materials together to get effects. This drastically increases the variety of enchantments we can put on our equipment. And the other thing I'm going to do, of course, is I'm going to make myself a pink pickaxe. As well as being alliterative, it's a very big upgrade over my iron smelly pickaxe head, a highly engorging increase in durability and mining speed. While we're discussing upgrades, I'm also going to make myself some pink chainmail. I may be a gremlin, but no one can say I don't have style. And the last thing I did with all of my new equipment is create a vein hammer. And this is what it allows me to do. It allows me to mine things in a very inconvenient way, because I have to keep jumping over this block that's mined in the middle. But although it might be a little inconvenient, it is extremely quick. Look at all this salt that I've just gathered in about 10 seconds of mining. Finally emerging from my goon cave with all of my new upgrades, I checked what day it was, and apparently it's the night of day 39. I lost a lot of time down there. Now, although we have our stylish chainmail and fabulous pickaxe, I am pretty much out of amethyst, so we're going to go to the Nether and grab some cobalt and then come straight back. Oh, we're on the ground and we're near a Nether fortress. This is a good spawn. Now, as I mentioned, I initially thought this was a Nether fortress, but it's not. It's some kind of evil, hell-dwelling boss, and we'll fight that before the end. We need to develop our vampire powers a bit further, though, before we take this on. Right next to this hellish coliseum was our first little bit of cobalt. It's a tough blue material that you have to have a good pickaxe to get through. My stylish pink and diamond pickaxe will make quick work of it. Now that we had some cobalt, I could have left, but I decided to peek my nose into the arena. And very quickly deduced this looks like a dangerous place where I shouldn't be. Returning home, I placed my cobalt into my smelter and gave it a good kick in the teeth to start smelting. Within a few minutes, we had a good load of molten cobalt. And I upgraded a few more of my tools. A little later, I learned something interesting about the ore miner, and highlighted why it's perhaps useful to use one's brain from time to time. The ore miner is not an annoying tool as I thought earlier, and instead has a very specific purpose, in a 3x3 spherical radius. This means if you try to mine some kind of ore, for example this redstone, it'll grab all of the redstone nearby. If only I'd known earlier that this tool was specifically for mining ores. If only they could have given me some kind of hint that's what it's for, by giving it a specific name, for example. Now, I should explain by this point, the reason I had been spending so much time focusing on my tools and such was because I desperately wanted to build my vampiric base without expending too much of my playtime. I wanted to spend a little bit of time making sure I had the best tools available, and then a little bit of time building my base, and then the rest of the time upgrading my vampiric powers in preparation for fighting the gods. So to that end, I made the vein hammer so that I'd be able to gather blocks faster. After finding out what the vein hammer, or ore miner as I've been calling it, is actually for, I then made another tool called a sledgehammer, which does exactly what I thought it would. It mines all blocks in a 3x3x1 radius. And with this, we will easily be able to get all the blocks we need from the vampire lands. After a single day of work, I'd managed to gather 8 or 9 stacks of deep slate. I wasn't sure by this point how much deep slate I was going to use, but hey, I'm sure it'll come in handy at some point. I was mainly just testing out the hammer. It's very delectable. Suddenly, my hammering session was interrupted. A group of vampire hunters had found me and I needed to make a getaway. Initially, I started to try and run away like a brave man, but then my ghoulish brain got the better of me. I thought maybe I can fly around and try and trap these men somehow. Vampire hunters are very dangerous, especially in a big group like this. The upgrades we've made to our armor mean they aren't killing us straight away, but I need to be extremely careful. Landing in the middle of the group will mean instant death. So I kept on skirting around the outside and throwing out feverish stabs every time I could. I tried luring the hunters over to a giant spider, but it just started machine gunning hares at me, so that plan ended before it began. Skeleton, save me. Protect me, bone boy. How are there this many hunters? Back fiends. Oh, I should have defended my base better. You cannot have the lemongrass man. Look at that skeleton just being submerged. This is my sangria. You can't have it. I'm gonna use the terrain to my advantage. Wonder if I could trap them, perhaps. Oh, that's an idea. And then we fly out. Oh god. Okay, that was a bad idea. Come on, I can lure some of you into this hole, surely. Nope, okay, they're all smart enough not to fall in. So many. I still hadn't shaken them by the time the sun began to rise, and needed to head home for shelter. I was also being chased by a ball gobbler, so that was exciting. I quickly dashed inside, closing the door behind me. Thinking I was safe, I just started heading down into the goon cave to do some mining or whatever, and then heard a very exciting sound. They came in. Run. Oh god, the hunters are inside. Oh, of course, they're hunters, they're people. They aren't just gonna stand outside. Oh, but they're all coming single file. Yes. You fools. You've fallen for my trap. Everyone into the kill zone. Yes. Now, the best thing about this raid, other than me still being alive, was the fact that I'd managed to inadvertently solve my food problem. If you remember, vampire hunters drop hearts from time to time. And from one group of hunters being lured into the kill zone, I'd managed to obtain 13 hearts. And that was only the beginning. I was fairly confident there were still hunters hanging around outside. Right, everyone in. Yep, everyone in. Yes. From the second swarm of hunters, I'd managed to obtain a new type of heart, and this one can be consumed for an extra permanent heart. Now, with 11 hearts, I finished off the last of the hunters using the same strategy, and then gingerly made my way outside to make sure I was now alone. That was a very successful evening. I now have 36 human hearts in my inventory. That's some good eating. Next, I desperately wanted to upgrade my new tools with diamonds, and I had none left, so I had to go looking for some. Luckily, my ore vein miner thingy was very helpful. These new mining tools I've made are awesome, but they do run out of durability incredibly quickly. This is going to help a lot. And in case I was besieged by hunters again anytime soon, I thought I'd quickly pop to the Nether and gather myself as much cobalt as I could. Cobalt and quartz, because apparently quartz is one of the gems you can glue to your weapons to give it more damage. It was then that I ran into this strapping young fellow. He's a goblin trader. And by that I don't mean he sells goblins. Instead, he trades a variety of items, the most important of which to me was this nether wart at the top here. I only need a little bit, and then I can grow my own. I really don't like being in the nether. It seems like a waste of time to me, so I just want to pop in and pop out. I used the cobalt I'd gathered to upgrade my sword, as well as my other mining tools. I also drastically improved my stees by making myself some new shoes. Oh, hell yeah. Slip those puppies on. My god. Now that we had survived the vampire hunter apocalypse and also had improved our gear, it's time to return to the task at hand. Building our beautiful vampire home. And for that, we need more of those vampire bricks, don't we? Oh my god, look at this thing. I sellotaped a few bits of cobalt to my sledgehammer, and my god, it's beautiful. I finished up my gatherings just as the sun was beginning to rise, and started heading home, completely forgetting that I'm a vampire. You know, it just occurred to me as I looked to the sun over there, I'm probably gonna die. Oh, yep, okay. Swim, swim. Back swimming with my friends, the corals. Oh wait, do I have my umbrella? I do. Okay, we can just go to land. Swim over. That umbrella is very helpful. Not very manly, mind you, but helpful. Here we go. Umbrella time? Ah, look at my delightfully engorged trees over there. Very long and well-groomed. Once home, I helped myself to a Reginald Snackington, and then got to work. The plan was to spend the next couple of days outlining the base. What I had wanted to do was get a solid structure before starting to build upwards. Some say that truly beautiful artwork embodies the concepts of good design at every stage of development. All that means is we have to start off good and end better. Yeah, simple as that, really. One of the absolute best things about my bat ability is being able to fly up in the air and make sure that my thing is starting to look good. I don't necessarily think it's amazing, but it's at least symmetrical. Before morning, I ran into another of the Bone Boys. If you remember, one of these blokes almost smoked me at the beginning. But now, due to my blood abilities, I was able to eat his eyes pretty easily. The sun began to rise, so I headed back into the Goon Cave and continued with the renovations. The Goon Cave was getting a little cramped, so I needed to expand it a little. It's nice to have some breathing room down here for my dark, evil machinations. And within 24 hours, we had a massively increased amount of space. I can't emphasize enough how engorging the sledgehammer is. That is, I would be singing its praises, but it needs repaired every 5 seconds. It's using all my damn iron as well. But it also makes mining a breeze, so come see, come saw, I suppose. Oh, hello. There's a vampire in my mining hole. By now, I had some of the blocks that I was going to need for my house, but not quite all of them just yet. I was tempted to create this, the foundry controller. What we've been using so far has been the smeltery, and the foundry is the next step in the Pokemon evolution. It'll give us access to further materials, tools, and items, and might very well come in handy. You can basically smelt down raw materials and sometimes get extra stuff. If you remember a while ago, I was trying to melt gold to get cobalt. This is how you do that. One thing we need for our foundry is a lot of soul sand. We need it to make a thing called Nether grout. It's used to smelt down into foundry bricks. We're going to hold off on the foundry stuff for a few days though. First we're going to focus on our vampire abilities. If I don't want to start dying to the random mobs that live outside, I'm going to have to make sure my glorp levels are as high as possible. And by glorp levels, I of course mean vampire abilities. I could have just said that really, instead of explaining it. Anyway, so we need to do a new ritual. Lucky for us, we don't have to start from scratch. We can use this pre-made altar. All I have to do is extract these blocks that help channel the powers. All I then had to do was yoinky skloink the blocks back into the holes, and I was now able to activate the altar. A new ritual has new requirements. I now need to sacrifice human hearts as well as a vampire history in order to level up. Human hearts are easy, of course. We have 1,000 of those. All ethically extracted, of course. The problem is the vampire histories. Those books are difficult to find. I knew somewhere to the east there was a village, and in that village was a vampire hunter trainer. I had come across this place many moons ago when I was searching again for my salt flat biome. When I arrived to the village, though, it appeared to be under attack. All of the guards were in full force fighting off the undead horde. There were 100 skeletons and zombies nearby. I could potentially have helped the humans, but then a golem started chasing me, so I decided, I'm sure the humans will be fine. I even had a quick chat with the vampire representative while the humans were fighting for their lives, just to see what kind of quests he had on offer. Nothing special, though. Irritatingly, though, I ended up getting so distracted trying to stop spiders from eating my eyes, so much so that I ended up having to use this waystone I found as an emergency escape before the sun rose. I then took a cheeky coffin nap and woke at nighttime. After which I returned to the village and managed to grab myself a couple of vampire histories. Luckily, the vampire hunter trainer wasn't in. Maybe he was at the shops or something. And with that, we now had everything required to develop ourselves from a vampire gremlin and into a slightly hairier vampire gremlin. My moustache level has upgraded. But with great moustache comes great responsibility. We must now choose our next ability. And instead of a single option, we now have 3 options to choose from. We could choose between the Vampire Rage, the Bat Swarm, and the Sunscreen ability. But another thing I was considering was also where these powers would lead. If I wanted a specific ability further in the tree, then I would have to pick more carefully. I ended up choosing Sunscreen, because although my lotion requirements are kind of met by my umbrella, I figured it would be nice to be able to go out in the day without my umbrella at least sometimes. And then also the next level upgrades are permanent increases to my stats. Permanent attack speed or permanent speed. Either of which sounded good to me. But unfortunately, much like the first time I browsed Reddit, I later came to regret this decision. Although I was warned the sunscreen ability would have a long cooldown, I wasn't quite prepared for the reality. The ability lasts about a minute and has a 20-minute cooldown. It's about as useful as a tea kettle made of cheese. But my ineptitude came with a realization. I could move this altar down into my house. It'd probably look cool, and I'd be able to level up faster. So I began the process, chewing away at the altar. I had taken screenshots of it beforehand and planned to rebuild it inside. Interestingly, as I dissolved it, there were some cheeky little hidden chests in here. Nothing particularly special, just a couple of blood bottles, some teeth, and gold ingots. But still, here's a nice little, like a Kinder Egg. It's good. My sledgehammer helped me make quick work of the altar. Now all I had to do was simply rebuild it. Easier said than done though, my house is a lot wider than that altar was, so I decided to extend the size of the altar by 1 block. This meant that the mathematics was a little difficult to work out. If I had rebuilt this whole altar and it was askew, I just would have quit the game. But luckily I did all the maths right and everything moved in nicely. During the process of moving the altar, which took several days, I was searching for an axe which would speed up my ability to cut my own spruce planks. I figured since there's a hammer that allows me to mine faster, maybe there's an axe that allows me to cut faster. And after some experimentation, I found it. But unfortunately, it only works on trees. It is handy though. Look at this. It basically mines every block above it. Oh my god. I just cut this tree down in like 3 hits. Hell yeah. It did take quite a few days in order to move the altar, and in fact I had to cannibalize another altar from a different place in order to get the extra blocks I needed. But once I was done, I was a very happy man. It was now day 55, but I had the ability to perform vampire rituals from the comfort of my own home. No need to leave the goon cave ever again, really. On day 56, I set my sight once again on the foundry. Moving the altar had made me realize just how big my base is going to be, and although I've collected a few blocks, I definitely don't have enough. With the current state of my tools, I could definitely get all the blocks I want, but I don't want to be spending too long simply gathering materials. I'd rather spend a little bit of time making the foundry and upgrading my tools than spend lots of time simply mining blocks. I got the thing mostly built, but I needed a lot more nether grout. I ran out of quartz, which annoyed me, honestly, because I really don't like going to and from the nether. I want to become a vampire god in my goon cave, not some nether explorer. But I knew if I wanted to be a vampiric homeowner, I'd need a foundry, so it is what it is. On day 57, I did some building, raised the walls, and needed to finish off the altar. Problem was, I couldn't remember how the altar was built, and also couldn't be bothered checking my footage. So I just slapped the things down and hoped for the best. Now I needed a floor to stand on. I was getting sick of all this salt in my boots. The prevalence of my engorged spruce trees nearby meant that I had a lot of wood to work with, and was able to put in a floor nicely. Only problem was, my umbrella keeps dying. You know, if you had told me at the beginning of this video that one of the things I'd be most occupied with is maintaining my umbrella as a vampire overlord, I would have thought you're a bit strange. Now, I desperately wanted to develop my foundry further, but before we do that, we should probably do some vampire leveling. It's been a while. Problem is I need pure blood to level up further. I have this bottle here, but its purity is 5 of 5, which is very, very pure. We don't need blood of that purity yet. So either we need to find a vampire baron or baroness to steal their blood from, or we find another altar with another one of those cheeky chests. Not too far from home, I did find another altar, although it's a very small one, so I wasn't certain if there would be a chest here. I also stole all the pillars, just in case I needed them for later. I still had a need for more vampire bricks, so I set about disassembling. I was starting to lose hope I wasn't going to find any chests, but eventually I did. It was right in the middle. I guess that makes sense because this one was a bit smaller than the others. Lots of blood bottles too. I just need the pure blood. Thank you very much. Now, theoretically, we had everything to do our ritual. Problem was, it wasn't working. I wasn't sure why, so I did what any respectable vampire would do at this point. I got bored and just kept developing my real estate empire. Now, I desperately wanted my base to have more Riz than the Rizzler. And to that end, I started putting some lava in. My theory was the subterranean glow would add a certain je ne sais quoi to the build. I'm just gonna cross my fingers and hope that this wooden paneling placed right next to the lava doesn't catch fire, which it almost certainly will. Now then, back to this thing. It wasn't working because apparently it wasn't strong enough. I wasn't sure if that's because I placed the pillars incorrectly, or if I needed to put in some new glorbage. Since I couldn't remember how the pillars are supposed to be placed, I thought I'd try the glorbage strategy first. There's a little bit of gold nearby, and I thought I could stab it into one of the pillars. Maybe that'd give us what we need. I plugged that puppy in, and to my surprise, it did actually work. Yes, let the powers that be fill me with the glorp juice. Yeah, get that inside of you. Yeah, it's good for your bones. That vampire juice. Yeah. Woo! What is this? Saturation 3. Strength 3, regeneration. I'm now vampire level 6. And what do we unlock? Let's have a look. So we can get permanent attack speed or permanent speed, or alternatively unlock the vampire rage or the vampire bats. Let's go vampire speed, because I want this permanent attack damage boost. Now, of course, although I had managed to increase my powers as a vampire, umbrella was still the relevant issue, and in order to keep building during the day, I need more iron. It is insane the amount of industry that goes into the maintenance of a single umbrella. Okay, that's the last time I'm going to complain about the umbrella, but I assure you, it is a persistent issue. Those lagoon bags again. Right. Yeah, the wooden paneling is catching fire, so we're gonna need to extend this brick, I think, by 1. Now, the revisitation by the Phantom Men had reminded me that I need to keep getting stronger. And I suddenly realized I have one of these fists just laying around, so I thought I may as well eat that. And then next I set out to find a new forest. To get higher vampire levels, we need more vampire books. These are tricky to find, and I believe you can find them in vampire biomes, along with the pure blood that we're going to need to keep developing. Pure blood and vampire books are dropped by vampire barons and baronesses, who can only be found in vampire biomes. It didn't take me too long to find the place the map was leading to, and as luck would have it, I managed to clock a goth MILF mummy soon after entering the biome. Problem was, she was female, and due to the fact that I am the way I am, I knew I had no chance at diplomacy. Bragging about one's Minecraft YouTube channel seems ineffective. I've tried. I have the high ground! Oh, one of these stupid creatures. Okay, keep the distance. She just shot me or something. How about you go back to the makeup aisle where you got that lovely face mask. Right, you. Oh, oh, she hurts. Stab, 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 stab. Me in your eyes. Yes. Okay, we got some pure blood. Purity 2 of 5. Hello, boys. Did you see that? I absolutely smoked Miss Demetrescu over there. Can I help you, Kyle? Immediately following my genetic victory, I was then stunned to find there was a wild teleport thingy here. Absolutely fantastic, because that means we might be able to come back and farm more of those vampire barons, in the hopes of getting our vampire books we need to get further. Since I had the teleport there, I figured I may as well dig down and grab some more vampire blocks. No point in wasting this opportunity. After I emerged from the mine with 6 or 7 stacks of vampire blocks, I teleported home, and much to my delight, it was raining. Another foggy day for me to build with. Well, I say that, I actually ended up staying in. I developed a new device. It's called a shovel. I basically realized in order to finish off my foundry, I'm going to need a lot more nether grout. And for that, we need soul sand, gravel, and magma. And I also needed to refill my lava buckets. I was fresh out. So I skipped on down to the lava lake and immediately fell in. Ah! My god. Am I gonna die? I need to wait until I stop burning before I fly. There we are. I managed to find myself a nice patch of gravel on which to test the shovel. Turns out it's basically just a sledgehammer, but for dirt and stuff. And after a bit of searching, managed to find the soul sand I needed too. It was a relatively simple process. The only thing making it difficult was all of the zombie pig racism. God, why do they dislike me so much? Is it because I'm undead? Aren't they undead? I don't understand. What's with the prejudice, boys? What have I done? Is it because I'm pale? That might be it. I emerged from the Nether on day 61, and immediately made a rather large mistake. I needed to melt down all of my grout into bricks to then use on the foundry. I thought I may as well just plonk them into the smeltery, and that would do the job for me. The reason this was a mistake is I only have one output. I've just got one little goo spout here that then very slowly cools and gives me one brick. It is painfully slow. I tried to expedite the process by adding water, but all I succeeded in doing was moistening myself and making my fish fingers soggy. After trying a few different things, I then gave up and resigned myself to waiting like a plant. 18,000 years later, though, we were done, and the foundry was born. I put some iron in the foundry and went back into the mine in search of coal. I wanted to build a second level to the foundry to increase its capacity, and for that I needed to cook more nether grout, and for that I needed coal. While I was gooning in my cave, though, I got a visit from some friends. That's the ticket. Oh, sweet Lord mercy, no. Huh? Run! Oh, God. What? Oh, sweet Lord, no. Run, 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 run. Holy crap! Okay, bat form in the hole. Okay. Block it off, block it off. Holy crap. The hunters. Oh, God, they found me. Holy, I have no idea how I survived there. A blighted hunter found me. Okay, they're in my mine. What are we gonna do here? As luck would have it, the cave that I dove into in a panic had a convenient little ledge that they couldn't climb over, so I was able to stab with impunity. Got him. Oh, so that's what that message means. I've been noticing this message down the bottom left. It means a blight was just killed by something. In this case, me. Right, I've decided. I'm low on hearts anyway, and such an assault on my home deserves retaliation. We're gonna go to the vampire hunter place. We're gonna slaughter every single one of them. They attack me during the day as well. Sneaky, sneaky men. Having escaped death, I returned back to the foundry and found the iron I'd left in there had turned into steel. This is the primary utility of the foundry. You get secondary ingredients from smelting regular materials. I wasn't able to get too excited though. Before I could even extract the steel, I was attacked by a tweaked out crackhead. Not again. Not again. Get the high ground. He wants me. He wants me. It was a good thing that I'd inadvertently built my base designed for bat people, not for humans. So these little ledges would be a nightmare if I wasn't able to fly. It was unintentional, but it's given me a significant advantage over my vampire hunter friends. On day 63, I rubbed a couple brain cells together and solved my slowness problem. The solution was to add a secondary slurp device. Basically, with two things cooling at once, we've doubled our efficiency. With the invention of steel, we can finally produce the dark goth armor of my dreams. Steel also has a very nice effect, which is that it gives additional armor toughness. Once I've added this onto my armor, we're going to be considerably tankier than before. And while I was here making myself some new drip, I figure I may as well make a new sword. This is the cleaver. I've made it out of mainly steel and cobalt. It's pretty good, but it is quite slow. My other sword does more damage per second. It does do a lot more damage per hit, but its slowness is quite the downgrade. Nonetheless, in retaliation for the people who invaded my home the other day, I decided to go stab some human beings. I was also on a bit of a heart farming mission. I'm very low on food. And as much as I love glorping juice from people, it's very inefficient. I would much rather have my snackies. Looks like the sun's rising. We didn't manage to accomplish too much, but we've done some damage to this place. May be able to finish this place off relatively soon. Oh, be careful. Damn hunters. Yeah, sun's getting a bit too high. Let's head back to the church. Gonna get kicked out about 4 minutes second now. Oh, there we are. Oof. Okay. Hello, boys. Annoyingly, despite my attempts otherwise, we didn't get too many hearts during the night. I only had 11 hearts left. But it was about that time I remembered one of these guys actually sells hearts. You there? Yes, you're the man that sells hearts for a very cheap price as long as I don't keep eating people. And of course, because I keep doing that, it's very expensive. Realizing that that man sells hearts gave me an idea. One of the interesting things about our foundry is that it allows us to melt creatures. In fact, this metal here, Herpetian, this purple stuff, is made using, instead of lava, blaze blood. And you get blaze blood by melting blazes. Carrying a blaze all the way back to my foundry would be a pain in the testicles, however, so we're not going to do that. Instead, we'll add this modifier to our weapon. It's called melting, and it allows you to melt things when you kill them. If you melt a blaze, you get blaze blood. If you melt a villager, well, we'll leave that as a surprise for later. It was now day 66 and I wanted to find some of that blaze blood. Annoyingly though, I need blaze rods before I can add the enchantment to my weapon. The process is cyclical in that way. I need blaze rods in order to melt blazes. I also figured while I'm down here, I'll refill on lava buckets. There's a good amount of lava on my home right now, but there can always be more. Every time I go into the Nether, I try to refill. Immediately though, I roasted myself again. I keep doing this. I started my search for blazes by just heading off in a random direction. I had the location of my home portal, so there was no chance I got lost, and my bat form made traversing the Nether extremely easy. The only real issue was the giant marshmallows that lit me on fire. That was fun. I wonder if I can stab this ghast by clever use of my bat form. Let's give it a crack. Oh. It didn't work. Ow, ow, I'm on fire. Ow. Traversing this land would be so much easier if all of these pigs weren't angry at me all the time. Still don't know what I've done to incur their wrath. Might have been all the bacon I've been eating since I've been here. It took quite some time, actually, but eventually I stumbled into a fortress. Within the first chest, I managed to find a spell that allows me to teleport. This is a very rare and incredibly useful spell. Only problem is, I don't have a spellbook or any way to use it. I decided I might look into magic later. Only problem is, I don't have much time at the minute. Between developing my Redditor powers and building my vampiric palace, I honestly don't have much free time. Even Goonings had to take a backseat recently. The fortress I had found was quite extensive, and blighted pig creatures made it extremely difficult to navigate. But much like catching a monkey, perseverance is key. And eventually, I found my cinnamon men by which I could grab my blaze rods. I later discovered my vein hammer, which I had glued a bunch of gems to, actually increases the drops I receive. I thought it only applied to things I mine, but it also applies to items mobs drop. And so I was able to head home with a nice pocket full of blaze rods. 16 to be exact. The only issue was, upon attempting to leave the Nether Fortress, I very quickly noticed that much like a hamster sellotaped to a ceiling fan, I've gotten incredibly turned around, and was many thousands of blocks away from where I needed to be. As luck would have it though, I managed to find a almost intact Nether portal. and I was able to steal all of the obsidian and rebuild it. I had hoped that by going through, I would be closer to home. This was untrue. I was roughly 10,000 blocks away from home. I was inside of a geode, though. That was at least interesting. And was able to restock on some amethyst. But the solution to getting home was definitely to get back into the Nether and to try and find my original portal. On the way, I naturally found another fortress, much closer than the one I was just at, and was able to fight some of the bone boys. I gave the lads a good whacking with my ore hammer and managed to leave the place with about 5 wither bones. These wither bones can be glued onto weaponry to give an enchantment that heals you when you do a critical hit. I was hoping this would be very helpful in defeating that vampire hunter lair. Oh, this is familiar. Okay. Somewhere around here. There it is. Finally. Bloody hell. Now that I was home, I glued 2 blaze rods, 2 lava buckets, and a foundry controller onto my sword and gave it the melting enchantment. It should now melt my enemies. Hello? How are we? Now, one of you needs to step into this conveniently placed container. You there. Get in the hole. Yeah. Okay. Uh-oh, I fell in the hole. Okay. Now this should melt him. I don't think he got melted. I then learned in order to do this properly, you need to also have the tank modifier to store the liquid that you get. So I quickly popped home, glued that on, and headed back. Much to the terror of the villagers, probably. But oh well, I couldn't convince them to go into my trap anymore for some reason, so I had to resort to more efficient methods. Got him. Did it work? Oh yes, Molten Emerald, 178 of 2000. I was then feeling a little peckish, so I decided to nibble on his wife. Anyone else feel like giving me some of their blood? The alternative is being melted. Once home, I found I was able to translate the emerald I just harvested from that melted villager into my containers. I didn't get an awful lot, which is a shame, but the point is we can now melt villagers in order to get emeralds. I think you can see where this is going. We have a man who sells us hearts for emeralds, and to get emeralds we can melt villagers. And there is also no need to inform the man who will be selling us hearts that he is technically buying melted villagers. Oh, and by the way that we turn melted villagers into currency is we simply glob them out of the machine and into a gem cast like this. Following my experimentation, it was now time to work back on the base. I was getting sick of walking around this disgusting, dirty old basement, so I decided to replace the entire floor with deep slate bricks. It has a good vibe. I like it. Next, I wanted to work on the base some more. So I went back to the vampire land to do some mining, and as luck would have it, ran into another vampire baron. I gave him a quick stabbing. No vampire book though, only some very low quality vampire blood. I then decided to explore a little in the hopes of finding some more hearts. There were lots of vampire hunter camps nearby, and I figured if I went and took them all out, I'd refill my snackingtons. Once I was done, I headed back to the vampire forest, found another vampire baron, this one quite high level. It took me quite some time to get her down, and she almost killed me a couple of times. But eventually she went down and my virginity was safe. Still no vampire books though. Big sad. It was now daylight, so I thought I'd spend the rest of the day being useful and gathering myself some blocks. Once I was home, I decided to upgrade my shoes with steel. We now have a full set of steel armor. We're looking good. Next, I wanted to use some of the blocks I've spent the past few days mining. In order to do so, I had to maintain my umbrella once again. It then occurred to me I might be able to make a much stronger umbrella from diamond. And yes, I can. I don't know why I hadn't done this yet. There we are. Get rid of this crap. Okay, let's do some building. And so, with my new diamond-encrusted Louis Vuitton umbrella in hand, I then set about building. I decided I wasn't going to stop until I at least had some windows. Or at least that was the plan. Oh, not again! The plebeians! Oh, well, let's see if they'll see the lava. I don't think they're going to! You fools! This time I was prepared. Well, not really, but it was a good thing I didn't fill that in. Maybe I should pour more lava around. Oh, actually, all the hearts we're gonna lose, though. No! I need your hearts! In order to preserve the juicy snackingtons that these guys had in their chest cavity, I floated down and took them out atop a little pillar I made. My new sword is quite nice. It does the job. We're just gonna bonk all these blokes to death. With that, we're gonna farm hearts. Only problem was, a issue arose. The sun started rising, and I was having so much fun stabbing people that I had managed to forget I'm a vampire. Equipping my umbrella, of course, severely decreased my speed, and I was now at the mercy of 30 or 40 vampire hunters. In order to escape my fate, I dove into a river. Luckily, I don't need to breathe, so I can just wait down here until it's nighttime again. Oh, this is a doozy. Found myself waiting at the bottom of a lake because of the vampire hunters on the morning of day 73. Lost a day due to these twats. Once it was morning, I was able to use the lake to my advantage and just whack them as they bobbed towards me. Once they were all taken care of, I got back to building, now with 17 hearts in my pocket. When will they learn? By the middle of day 75, I'd mostly finished. I'd played around with a few different ideas and came up with something I was quite happy with. One of the nicest things about being able to turn into a bat at the moment is my ability to check my own work. I can simply hop outside, turn into a small mammalian flying creature, and see how my architecture is coming along. And to be honest, I'm highly engorged with this. It's pretty good. We're gonna add more lava though, don't worry. The lava currently there is just the beginning. There's still plenty of lava pools for me to leap into in the Nether. I think it's looking good though. Genuinely, I think it's one of the better things I've ever built. It's pretty nice. All I've got to do now is not screw it up. Or die, or something. So the base is looking snazzy, but at this point I was almost completely out of bricks and also had no glass. So I decided I would go out soon and get some materials. While I was searching around for sand, I suddenly noticed that the creatures around me have leveled beyond my expectations. For example, over here we have an emu that's blighted and a kangaroo. Even a blighted seagull. Okay. What is this? A blighted husk. Why not? It was at that point I apparently started going completely insane. I'm not sure if it was due to the neurons degrading in my brain due to my undeadness, but something was definitely going wrong in my head. I have a question. What in the balls? Anyway, so quick recap. We have only 16 hearts left. We're low on food, and we desperately need to replace it with something. While I was flying around during the night, I had figured out the solution. Our newfound ability to melt villagers is only limited by the fact we have no villagers. And if we had villagers, we could also supplement our hearts for some blood drinking. So what we're going to do is kidnap some human beings. Or at least we were going to. It was currently daytime, and I didn't want to waste the day just by sleeping in my coffin. I'm very behind on my building, but I was very excited for my newfound plan. Night can't come fast enough. I'm giddy with excitement. We're gonna go ruin some villagers' lives. I don't really know how I'm gonna get them here, to be honest, but we'll figure that out. The second that night fell, I wasted no time and flew back to the floating village in the sky. I then abducted a young man by the name of Clarence and simply rode him off of his utopic Elysium. This is my plan. We lived. Okay. Now, calling my abduction a plan is probably a little bit of an overstatement. I really had no idea how I was going to get this bloke home. I had made no preparations and just intended to row him. And since it was nighttime, of course, I had to fight monsters, including a wizard, and while stealing a nearby teleport, a giant spider that was flinging hairs at me. Uh-oh. We're alive. While I was distracted, Clarence apparently got partially eaten and had turned into a zombie. Oh, Clarence! I'm so sorry. I didn't think this through, like at all. I'm so sorry, Clarence. Making a swift exit before the Federals arrived, I decided I would start a second version of the plan, one that's considerably less terrible. I started digging straight through the mountain. If my calculations were correct, this would lead me to the sea on the other side. I could then build a railway by which to bring the villagers inside, and by morning I'd managed to punch my way through. I then built a crude little bridge in order to connect the railway tunnel to my house, and then started building my new glorious railway. It cost a hell of a lot of iron and my personal time, but I was certain that this would work and pay off. Let's be honest, I can't believe it took me this long to start abducting people. Hello, lads. Sorry about Clarence. He's not around anymore. Clarence would have fried to death. Ooh, yeah, I just realized that. Oh well. Right, you're coming with me, Bartholomew. Down we go. Woohoo! Oh yeah. Told you we'd be alive, Bartholomew. You didn't believe me. You betrayed me. There it is. Look at that. There's a rail cart for you. Oh, there he goes. Right, I need one more volunteer. What happened to Clarence? Don't worry about it. He's fine. He's living with me. Glortbert, quickly, get onto the minecart, or we'll all die. Only you can save human and vampire kind. Get in the cart, son. Son, stop that! Alright, we're sending the cart up. Get him. Pick him up. Uh-oh. Glortbert, get... What are you doing? Glortbert! Get in the cart. Get in the cart. Oh, you absolute testicle. Glortbert, why? Glortbert. Glortbert! Stop running! No! Wrong way! Oh, I'm gonna stab you in the mouth. There he goes. Who even names their child Glortbert? Uh-oh. Glortbert? No! Glortbert! No. No, no, no. Do not do that. You two are my friends. I couldn't make real friends, so I had to buy them. Get in there. Uh-oh. Right! Welcome to your quarters. You'll be in here for the foreseeable. Make yourselves at home. Glortbert and Bartholomew. Good friends. Oh, I'm gonna need to start growing things to get these guys some food. I forgot they won't breed without food. Or beds. Yeah, I'm gonna need to make them some beds. Now, my initial plan was to have these two create children, which would then go through here and fall into my furnace. This would melt them down, and I would get all the emeralds I desire. But it then occurred to me that perhaps children are not very valuable, so it could be more worthwhile to allow the children to grow up into adults. So the following day, I got some farmland together so I could start growing them food, and then set about building them a little playpen. I've had extreme difficulty in the past breeding villagers, and I think one of the reasons is lack of space. So this should be more than enough to have some free-range villagers breeding continuously. Oh yes. On day 81, I stabbed this man. He's an Enderman, and he drops teleporting balls, of which I need 4 to be able to create a teleporting crystal. The crystal will allow me to teleport to any of my waystones I've placed. But the main reason I'd come out here, before being distracted by that man's teleporting balls, was to gather sand for the windows of my house. I'm getting sick of all the flies getting in. Later on, while I was restoring some of my depleted supplies, I found an empty cave I hadn't been into. I was mainly down here in search of gold, but ended up running into an incredible amount of heart shards and power crystals. These permanent buffs are very, very welcome, and I used them as soon as I got home. Sadly, using the heart crystals depletes my XP, and it seems I get an extra heart for every 10 levels I have. But anyway, we have 15 hearts now. And these upgrades came just in time before I was attacked by a group of the plebeians. They had the collective IQ of your average roll of scotch tape. On day 83, I was just about to refill my foundry. But then I suddenly had the thought, perhaps we go get that blaze blood instead. Since we now have the weapon that allows us to melt things, if we can find another fortress and stab a few blazes, we can fill our foundry with a new type of fuel. While I was flapping around, I found one of those warped forests. Often, Endermen can be found here, and I had brought the balls that I'd collected with me, but I was too short. As luck would have it, I ran into a whole plethora of the things. And a few skloinkingtons later, I had all the balls I needed. Making this teleport crystal was incredibly handy, as it meant I could just teleport home when I'm done in here. It took a hot minute, but eventually I found another fortress. Stabbed a few blazes to collect their goo, and this time I also had the foresight to place a waystone down. Now I was able to teleport back if ever I needed to. With my new forge juice, I'm able to smelt things 50% faster. And as an added bonus, we can alloy new materials in the melter. This purple stuff isn't only delicious, it has very unique properties. Its effect is that it will increase the digging speed the more you use the item. And if we make armor with this stuff, we receive more protection the more damage we take. These two effects are very powerful. Only problem is, to make this goop, you need cobalt, of which I have some, but not a lot. So the best I could do right now is simply add it to my hammer. Wanting to make use of my new toy, I headed back to the vampire woodlands and climbed on down into my highly stripped mine. To make a beautiful vampire home, you of course have to destroy a few ecosystems. I then zipped home using my new crystal and started cutting my vampire bricks into blocks. Stepping outside with my fanciful umbrella equipped, I then realized that the solicitors were still here. I had apparently not finished off all of them the other night. I was getting a bit worried though. I only had 3 hearts left, and for some reason these guys were being a little selfish and weren't giving me any. So in an attempt to go back to one of the previous plans I'd started and then gotten distracted with, I made a scythe for farming and stabbing. As well as reaping humans, it is fantastic at farming. It replants automatically. This is by far the best tool that's ever been invented. In the morning, my friends had finally reproduced, and we now had a third person to add to our menagerie. Next, I had to design a method by which I could use this man to my advantage. What I decided was I would build some kind of laundry chute system. The child would go in here, at which point he would fall onto the lazy river, and he would then grow up into an adult, and I could at which point steal his blood or melt him. I spruced up the landing zone where he would probably be spending the entirety of his life. Unfortunately, while I was building, Timmy had apparently escaped and was now running around my basement. Again, originally I had planned for the water chute to go straight down into the furnace, at which point he would be melted. But I have a sneaking suspicion that the emerald value of tiny little orphans is not very high. In between doing all of these war crimes, however, I'm spending most of my time building. I've come to realize that I've built my house way too big, and I'm going to struggle to finish it before day 100. So I'm spending every single night and most of the day building at the minute. In the morning, Jimmy had grown into a fully fledged adult, so it was now time to melt him. I know you're all dying to hear what the emerald value of one fully grown orphan is. Sadly, it's only about 37 milligrams or 3 emeralds worth. Almost not even worth the time, to be honest. But it's a passive emerald generator, so I may as well leave it running. And I suppose I can also steal sangria from the parents, which rations my remaining hearts, which is nice. In terms of building, I was now at the point where I needed a roof. I wanted some kind of red block for the roof, and the first thing that came to mind was either netherrack or netherrack bricks. But I wasn't terribly fond of that idea because I have to cook all of the stupid bricks before I can use them. So I headed to the vampire forest in the hopes I could find something as an alternative. I don't know exactly how this works, but basically orphan blood ends up in some of these trees. They're all spruce trees, but some of them have red wood. They're called cursed trees. I tried to grow my own back at Sangariaville, but it didn't work out. There clearly isn't enough orphan suffering going on here. But while I might not be able to cultivate these trees, the wood is a good red. So I decided that's what I would use. I then decided to give my home some extra riz. What I would do is add some lava. I wanted an intimidating vampiric glow. A warm yet fuzzy glow that would say to any homeowner association, well, there's definitely no child blood drinking going on in there. I spent the next 4 or 5 days just building. I desperately wanted to finish before day 100. What took a considerable amount of time was the roof. Partially because the homeowners association wouldn't leave me the bloody hell alone, but it was mainly due to the sheer amount of trees that I had to cut down. Every other night or so, I would head out and try and find some more vampire books. I scouted all of the nearby villages, but turned up completely empty. I did find a lot of hay by which to feed my pets, though. They were so grateful to me, and would constantly whisper sweet nothings in my ear, like, "Why are you doing this? Please let us go. I have a family." And finally, on day 99, I was finished. My home was finished, apart from this large window that I hadn't filled in, but ignore that. And also ignore all of these fires that appear to be perpetually on the veranda. But look at it! Look at my beautiful home. My beautiful vampiric manor, within which there is absolutely no human breeding programs or orphan blood drinking. But finally it was finished. I decided to have one last ditch attempt at trying to find some vampire books. I headed to a nearby village and immediately got glassed by a local Londoner. Even snuck into a few of those vampire hunter experts' homes in the hopes that I might find one. Okay, I'm going. Heartbroken I hadn't managed to find any more books to level up, I somberly headed home as the sun of day 100 peeked its head over the horizon. But that's okay, we're still a moderately powerful vampire and we have some bloody good gear. I went down into the Nether to the arena. The Lord of the Underworld must now be defeated. By me, the Lord of the Redditors. What are you doing? Get out of here. I'm monologuing. I headed inside, and much to my surprise, the ground floor was completely empty. I started heading up one of the little spindly staircases, and on the second floor found what appeared to be a sentient Beyblade. Apparently this creature was called a Revenant, and I initially thought he was the final boss I'd come here to find. After a little bit of learning and some stabbing, he fell down, and I was very surprised to have won so easily. I then climbed the staircase to the second level and found something much more intimidating. Using an item dropped from Beyblade Man, I threw it into the altar, and things started to shake and get a bit exciting. And well, it was about that time some heavy metal started playing, and I realized that I'm about to get abused. What? Huh? I have not put this music on. This is just part of the boss fight. Huh? Oh, sweet lord. Oh my lord. Yeah, this guy is a beast. Whoa. No! Fly! What are you gonna do now, Lizzo? Oh boy, he's shooting at me. Oh, what excellent music! Oh, good. Oh, he's destroying the arena as well. Okay, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad. Okay, we're using arrows. Oh no. Okay, we're fine. I needed to heal. Heal, heal, heal. What if I drop and shoot him at the same time? I don't think I can hit him with arrows. Oh! Yeah, I think he heals. He's healing, yeah. Ugh. I was now depressed after having been bullied by Ignis. Despite my vampiric abilities, I had done very little to damage him. But there is one vampire ability I have not yet used. The ability to return from death. I can only use this once, which is why I have been quite careful so far. But now is the time. I will rise and very quickly piss right off and go home. Yeah, I'm having none of that. Absolute bollocks. He slapped me against the wall like a wet paper towel. I returned home, thinking what I could do, what I could possibly do to empower myself to maybe fight Ignis again. And then I had a thought. Maybe, just maybe, I might know where some vampire books are. I chewed my way into the vampire hunter base, determined to climb to the top of the tower and annihilate every last hunter, glorious though their moustaches might be. Surely, if anywhere has a book, it's gonna be this place. It did take me quite some time. It was now the night of day 100. We're verging on day 101. But I, of course, couldn't enter until all the blights had been dealt with. That would be death. And this time, final death. Once the blights were down, though, I was able to head inside and was quickly turned into a porcupine by all the crossbow men still shooting at me. Thankfully, my vampiric abilities, my health, and my passive abilities meant that I was able to survive and climb my way to the top of the tower. Upon which time, I was immediately stabbed by 3 Scotsmen for suggesting that perhaps beer should taste good. Whoa. Okay, that was close. After healing a little bit, I then returned to the pub for another intellectual conversation. And this time, I handedly won the debate. Yes. Ah. Terrifying. Right. Food. Yes. Vampire books. Excited as a hamster in a microwave, I quickly rushed home and began the ritual. Yes. Oh, it took so long to find those books. But they were sitting right in front of us the whole time in the vampire tower. Oh, yes, fill me with the sangria of goodness. Yes. Ooh, and I got an extra heart. Lovely. And an extra skill point. We can level up one more time, I think. So we could get the permanent attack damage boost, but I really want to get this, the vampire rage. Yeah. Okay, can we level up once more? How many hearts do we need? 10 again? Oh. Give me the globage. Juice me up, mommy. Yeah. Yes. 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 Delicious. Oh, yes. Sadly, my second skill point kinda went to waste. I didn't have any combat-related skills to choose from, so I chose something to be able to see through walls. Maybe that would come in handy. I then headed back to the Nether and immediately got jumped. Bloody hell. That bloke came out of nowhere. Following this, I returned to Ignis's chambers, prepared myself, summoned him, and was immediately fed my own eyes. So, I died, but also, I lived. Instead of ending the playthrough there, upon popular request, I decided to continue. But not without some severe punishments for my death.
Ice cream so good. Yes.
We survived the first 100 days, but after our death, fell into a deep coma, during which time Cornelius here was supposed to be looking after the house, keeping safe our villagers, and making sure that no vampire hunters come anywhere near my comatose corpse. After several hundred years, I have awakened. And this time, we're gonna get really stuck into the mod pack. We're gonna develop our powers, we're gonna fight some of the strongest creatures that exist in the new world, create our own vampiric society, and firmly establish ourselves as the dominant species on this planet. We begin by waking up from a terribly tumultuous nap, leaving me dehydrated, fatigued, and fairly certain someone has stolen my wallet. I recognize my surroundings. This is the house that I had built recently. Though in an interesting turn of fate, my entire environment seems to have changed. Instead of the desiccated salt flats I'm used to, I'm now in some kind of cold, freezing, arid environment with no discernible civilization in sight. Shropshire. The good news is I haven't lost any of my previously obtained vampire levels, though I do appear to have forgotten all of my skills and had to unlock them once again. Okay, we'll take night vision so we can see what's going on, and my God! My furnaces! They've been ruined! During my nap, the house appears to have taken considerable damage and is in dire need of repairs. All of the tinker's furnaces and smelteries I've built have taken severe damage and are no longer functional. But some more so than others, and I noticed my foundry is actually quite repairable. Okay, this one looks fixable, actually. Oh, it just occurred to me I have no items. Okay, we're gonna need things to... And there's a leak? There's a leak in my house? Oh no, the villagers. Ah yes, the villagers. All creatures need to eat, and I am no exception. Though sadly as a vampire, this has left me gluten intolerant, which means I cannot consume human food, and need to instead consume the blood of living beings. This is why I had previously gone to considerable effort to try and wrangle a few villagers and get a breeding program going. But sadly, it would appear that during my nap, those ungrateful twats had managed to escape. They're all gone? Damn! Do you know how long it took me to get Glortbert in here? Okay, I am furious now. And there's a lava leak. Great. There's a lot of holes in the ceiling. That needs to be addressed. I'm gonna burn. Actually, do I burn under the holes in the ceiling? Let's see. Oh, yes. Okay, yes I do. Okay, the altar is largely untouched. That's good. But they stole all the gold blocks, it seems. Absolute twats. The furnaces are both broken. There's holes in the floor and the ceiling. There's a giant hole at the back of the house that's gonna need fixed so that all kinds of monsters and gremlins can get in. And we have a lava leak, which hasn't set any fires yet, but it will. There's a leak downstairs from the villager transportation system, which is urinating water all over my basement. Great. Love that for us. In good news, though, there appears to be a vampire who's moved in, and whatever calamity that struck my house appears to have left all my juices alone, so we still have some molten metal left. So we aren't starting from nothing. In fact, I had a chest that was still full of scorched bricks, which I could turn into blocks and start repairing my furnace right away. I wasn't able to fully repair it though, and without access to the Nether, I won't be able to turn this back on until I can figure out some way to make more bricks. Oh, Cornelius! How could you let this happen, Cornelius? I left you in charge for all of 2 centuries, and you've let the place turn to crap! Did they take everything? Yes! Okay, I have stuff left. Thank God! There's a lot of different things in here, but all of the quantities are quite low. Okay, looks like we've managed to keep all of our tinker stuff. Amongst my remaining possessions, I managed to find a crossbow and a sword. I only have 1 arrow though, and the sword doesn't have much durability, but it's nice to at least be armed. I then had a quick check on my lodestone, which appears to have gone goth, and found that sadly, I have no other teleport locations. Damn it! Before we could get started on some repairs though, I needed some starter tools. Thankfully, I did have some diamonds left over, so I wasn't starting from scratch, and was able to make myself a diamond pickaxe. God, I love being wealthy. Amongst the most important things we lost was this, the smeltery controller. Without it, we can't merge liquids together and get different metals. I couldn't for the life of me remember how to make it again, so I had to review my literature and found that I need to make a meltery. And for that, we're gonna need the grouty bricks. But a far more pressing concern than my smithing business is the fact that I'm starting to get a little hungry. I needed to head outside in search of food, and before doing so, I had a quick look over my skill tree. I'm currently vampire level 8, but all of my skill points have been reset. I unlock the regeneration and bat form abilities, the vampiric rage combat ability, and a cheeky little passive called Advanced Biter. It basically means I siphon blood more effectively from creatures, and I don't need to worry about going full Astarian and drinking people to death, unless I want to. Some of my other vampire abilities aren't related to the tree. As a level 8 vampire, I have increased agility, endurance, and strength. What this translates to is I'm very speedy, I have additional health and armor, and also I do additional damage. Of course though, the caveat of all these passive abilities is that they only work while I'm either under shade or roaming around at night. If I'm under the sunlight, I have none of these abilities. And also I'll burn to death, as I showed you just before. Anyway, let's return to our starvation problem. I thought I would look inside my chest to see if I had any juice boxes left, and turns out I do. Got a few bottles of blood that I must have filled a while ago. So the food problem is kinda solved, not really. We've just delayed the problem. We need to find some either live animals or human beings in order to sustain my life force. Getting a lay of the land isn't too tricky with my handy bat form, so I headed outside and started looking around for any living animals. Humans would be better, of course, but it's not going to be very likely in this snowy tundra I found myself in. I didn't find any humans on my first look around, but I did find something very worrying. A dragon skeleton. A big dragon skeleton as well. These can be harvested for dragon bones and dragon skulls and made into weaponry and tools, but not made into blood, which was what I was searching for at the minute. So I kept going. I found a far more reasonable spruce woodland nearby, and animals did indeed live here. Problem was, I was now almost starved, and the first one I ran into was a bear. Why is that bear covered in flour? Bears tend to be a little unhappy if you steal their blood, so I decided a smarter idea would be to drink one of my juice boxes until I can find something better. Near the bear, I actually found a sheep, and sheep are much more polite than bears, so I was able to slaughter this man without him complaining. Cornelius! You just murdered that sheep. I was drinking from there. It was now the morning of day 102, and I'd managed to get caught away from home and the sun was up. But you'll notice I'm not sizzling like a fish finger. This is because it is currently snowing, and the dense clouds above my head have managed to protect me. Basically, if it's raining or snowing, I can be out during the day. There is one other aspect to the mechanic, but I'll show you that later. Okay, so we've drank, we've had some food. There are sheep around that can be drank from. That's good. Wanting to utilize the cloud cover, I headed back outside and started gathering some materials. I needed some stuff to fill in the damn holes in my floors. I grabbed some wood and headed down to a nearby lake where I was able to find some sand. It was under a frozen lake, but thankfully I don't need to breathe as an undead and was able to jump down there and quickly gather it. I then zipped home and was surprised to realize that my house had been turned into a swingers club while I'd been away. Oi! This is my house! Can't be fighting in here! What? I still had some resources left, as it turns out. I broke a nearby chest expecting it to be empty, and it was full of stone. The annoying part is, none of my house is made from stone. It's all made from deep slate and vampire bricks. And I don't have either of those. Vampire bricks can only be found in vampire lands, which I'm gonna have to go and find soon. But for now, I was able to plug up all the damn holes in the floor. I also stopped the leak into the basement, so things could dry down there. And I also stabbed a zombie in the mouth, who I'd forgotten was unaggressive to me since we're both undead. Basically just killed my roommate. I then flew up and nabbed some of the lava that was floating around my house and used it to fuel a smeltery. This will allow us to smelt down some copper and rebuild this forge. I melted the copper down onto some bricks, which for some reason turns into a smeltery controller. And now I'm able to mix molten goo together. We can melt down this amethyst and copper to make amethyst bronze, which I needed to make an anvil in order to make a sledgehammer, which I would use to get deep slate and repair my house. Now that the smeltery's all fixed, I turned my attention to the foundry. Thought would be much easier to repair, but turns out it isn't. Basically, I don't have enough of these scorched bricks in order to make the repairs. I also need obsidian glass, and don't have any obsidian. Everything seemed to be pointing at me going mining soon, really. Heading back upstairs, I found something interesting has happened. A sheep, minding its own business, had ambled its way through the gaping hole in my back room. I sought to reward his curiosity by stealing all of his blood. His presence did give me the idea, though, that I should perhaps entrap him and use him as a food source until I can find some human beings. I decided to name him Marvin. After trapping him, I also stole his clothes. And the reason I stole his clothes was because I can use them to make myself a not very masculine but entirely useful device, an umbrella. This will protect me from the harsh rays of the sun while I am outside. I could just sleep in my coffin until it's nighttime, but personally, I really want to get these repairs done. When night fell, I thought it'd be fun if I test out some of my vampire abilities. I used my incel rage and started attacking this man with the face mask. It apparently drastically increases my damage as well as increasing my durability and speed. To my surprise, it also lasted an incredible amount of time. I was able to travel to a nearby cave and slap a bone wizard in the face before it ran out. It wasn't until a few minutes later that it finally wore off and my aura of rage dissipated. I was then approached by a beast man wearing a cloak and accidentally fired my only crossbow bolt at him, turning my crossbow into nothing more than a paperweight. My mage hunter sword was doing for now, but look at its durability. Not good. I needed to get something new relatively soon. Exploring the cave in my bat form, I came across an ore which I didn't recognize. Turns out this is silver ore, and it can be used to make silver armor, which I thought looked cool. My tough vampiric hide offers me some form of protection already, but it would be nice to not be naked, and finally the neighbors would stop complaining. Actually, I did wear this stylish hat I stole from a bone wizard I killed earlier, so I wasn't completely naked. I decided to explore the cave a little further, going deeper underground. It was then that I was reminded of why I like to stay on the surface in my bedroom, where no giant centipedes and giant huntsman spiders are. Also none of whatever the hell this thing is. Lucky for me, my bat form meant I was able to easily evade the cretinous vermin that lived underground, but that didn't mean I enjoyed the experience. I hated being down here. Before leaving, I decided to grab a few diamonds that were poking out at me. I didn't really have a use for them. I already have my diamond tools and I'm not really planning on making diamond armor, but it's nice to have things just in case. I actually had the idea that I might use these for some enchanting, but we'll see. Just as I was leaving, I ran into a spawner for ants, as it turned out, and in the two chests I nabbed a couple of things. I grabbed a potion of mana regeneration, some glowy magical powder, and this book which has a description that contains a lot of words and is therefore probably important. I was curious about all of the deep dark I was seeing down here, so I decided to have a quick look, and sure enough, there is actually an ancient city right under my house. I don't know what the chances of that were, but I noted down the coordinates in case I wanted to come back once I was more brave. I'd actually lost my sense of direction and had to dig my way out, but we aren't going to talk about it, right? Once I had unearthed myself from the ground like a freshly born cabbage, I found myself to be quite far from home on the night of day 103. Ambling in what I assumed was the general direction of my house, I came across this rather strange structure. It's some kind of ancient dragon burial mound. To open it, I need a magical key of some kind, which I don't have. But sooner or later, I'll definitely go into one of those. I then found a watchtower with a waystone in it, which meant I could teleport home. I then had a nibble on Marvin and started smelting some of the things I'd mined. Mainly just copper is the ingredient I need to be able to make the amethyst bronze. I needed quite a bit of it. I need 3 whole blocks in order to remake my anvil I've lost. But once I have it, I'll be able to make tools such as the sledgehammer and scythe again. I'm not sure exactly when, but I appear to have also accrued some new literature. This is a novel outlining the Ars Nouveau mod. I don't fully understand it yet, and honestly, foreign knowledge scares me, so I incinerated the book. If I can't figure it out without the novel, then I'm just not gonna figure it out. I'm a vampire, not a reading person. I then threw down a enchanting table. Since I don't have my big tools yet, I'm gonna be damned if I'm just using a raw diamond pickaxe. Let's at least enchant this bad boy. I gave myself efficiency 1 on the pickaxe, efficiency 1 on my hatchet, and in a surprising manner, efficiency 2 on my shovel. Currently day 104. We're speedy, we're naked. Good. We have this. The yoinky sklonky listen here. Now, one thing we are going to do during this playthrough, you see how this one says fire down the bottom there? This is a fire spell. This is an evocation spell. This is a blood spell. This is an ender spell. I think it'd be fun if we mastered blood magic. We're a vampiric man. It's a good idea. Now, the smeltery had almost finished up our amethyst bronze at this point, but we were lacking in fuel. This thing runs on lava at a good rate. Lucky for me, I had found an extra bucket of lava while I was underground, so I didn't have to steal from my house's decor once again. And with that, we now had enough amethyst bronze to fill 3 blocks. The anvil in question is this fancy little number. It allows me to craft far more powerful tools that have utilities beyond the means of normal Minecraft. The renewed presence of my anvil means that I can take my gold molds I've made earlier and manufacture some more tool components. We then use our anvil to assemble all the bits, and boom, here we are, a cobalt broad axe. As well as being a handy two-handed weapon that's gonna get rid of this stupid mage hunter sword, it's also brilliant for gathering wooden resources. In case you don't remember, it mines every block above the block you mine, meaning getting rid of trees and indeed neighbors who decide to pop in uninvited is now so much quicker, and I can get some repairs done. I then headed home, had a nibble on Marvin, and went downstairs and made myself a fancy new helmet. I smelted up the silver I'd gathered earlier, and now I was role-playing as a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. With my stylish new headwear, I headed onto the roof, and with the fir logs I've just gathered, started doing the repairs on the ceiling. There is a skeleton on my roof. Still got lots more repairs to do, but many of the roof holes... There is a spider up there. He wants me. Many of the roof holes have been filled. There's a couple over there still. Now, it might be morning, but I wanted to keep working. So I quickly plugged up my lava hole and went to sleep in my coffin. That way I could skip to nighttime and continue making some progress. I thought I might make a gemstone of teleportation. I was getting a bit sick of nibbling on Marvin and wanted instead to find some human food. That's food in human form. I reviewed what I needed for the teleport crystal and found that I don't have enough Enderian balls to be able to make it. As luck would have it though, I thought I'd seen an Enderman upstairs, so I quickly went up and had a chat with it. You there! Give me your balls. He did not give me his balls. Damn! Okay, let's go out. We can get one person's balls. We can make a teleporter. Very cold here. I can't imagine people live here. While I was outside, I noticed a rather strange-looking purple tree sticking out. And by chewing away at it, I found out this is indeed a magical tree. It's an archwood tree, and can be used in various forms of enchanting and magical stuff. If I hadn't thrown away the literature from earlier, then I would probably know more about it, but oh well, we'll figure it out as we go. My beautiful heavy axe made disassembling this tree a breeze. Sometime later, during the same evening, I managed to run into one of those tall blokes again and managed to get exactly what we needed. I then globbed one of Marvin's cousins, as I was feeling a bit peckish, then headed home and after some experimentation, found with some gold I could use the archwood logs to make an enchanting thingy. I don't know what it does. As luck would have it, I ended up having a spare book that I hadn't incinerated, and was able to learn if you put objects in it, it transforms them into others. For example, after a couple of minutes, the lapis lazuli I put in there has transformed into a source gem. This is apparently an ingredient that is used to develop the enchanting further. I then slapped together my handy little teleport crystal and headed outside. It was daytime, but it was snowing, so I was able to fly outside without crisping myself. I stopped for a quick snack and then came across some friends of mine. There's a group of vampire hunters on the ridge over there. I don't have any arrows, but I do have a unbridled rage that I can imbue myself with, so I dashed on in and gave them a good stabbing. The best thing about dealing with vampire hunters is you can get a unique item, a human heart. Human hearts can be munched on in order to refill my hunger bar. It's an alternative to drinking blood, and very efficient. Problem is, getting them is kinda hard. I didn't find any signs of humans that night though. Despite my efforts, the sun began to rise over in the distance, and all I had was some loot that I'd managed to scrounge from the nearby areas. Speaking of loot, one interesting thing I managed to do was stab a fairy in the face. This caused her to drop her magical pixie dust, which when sprinkled into a bowl apparently creates something called ambrosia. Consuming this gives you a plethora of buffs that last quite a long time. Wow. Okay. Might need to murder pixies. Anyway, I used my teleport crystal to zip home before I began to burn. Putting on my thinking cap and investigating further into the enchanting thing, I found I could make source stone if I had deep slate, which I don't have. This is amazing. This ambrosia. I'm gonna make more of this. We're gonna murder as many pixies as we possibly can. The time has come for me to build some actual storage in my house, instead of these floating chests of weirdness. In order to speed up the process, I made myself a new special tool. I really didn't want to spend the rest of my mortal life digging out dirt just so I could put some chests in, so I used up all of the cobalt that I had left and made myself a shovel. This thing speeds up the process literally ninefold, as it mines 9 blocks at a time instead of 1. I now had some space, but was starving to death. It was time for me to eat the human heart I'd gathered from those vampire hunters, and give you a visual example for what exactly it does. Now, if we eat a human heart, we heal all of our blood at once. It's great. Which means poor Marvin up there gets another day to recover. To give poor Marvin some time to recover, I decided to go out once again in search of living food, but got distracted when I noticed that there was a lava pool nearby and I was able to restore some of my fuel. I did some more exploring and managed to find some magma, but no human beings. Magma is good, I can use it in my smeltery. Eventually, I returned home to find that my basement has once again become infested with vermin. What the hell has happened to my basement while I was away? Every spider in the world has apparently arrived, as well as the beast men. In order to sort this situation out, I'm going to have to light up the goon cave. They keep crawling in because it's dark and dank and smells in here. I thought about the possibility of using redstone to make myself some redstone lanterns, but it turns out I need glowstone as one of the few things that I seem to have completely lost in my transit. So all I can do really is make torches. However, I don't have any coal, so we're gonna have to cook up these fir logs to make charcoal. The use that I found for magma was in creating the bricks I need for my foundry. Apparently, if you put flint in here and combine it with magma goo, you get the bricks that I need. 5 minutes later, my vampiric senses were tingling, and I realized I was now under attack. There was a swarm of vampire hunters that were going to assault me any time now. And sure enough, from out of the woods they came. I had made myself a cheeky dragon sword I made from that dinosaur skeleton at the beginning. But most of the time, I just used my choppington. Ooh, a ring. We got from those goons 2 hearts and a ring. Significantly increases damage. I like that. What is that thing? A whirly sprig. A what? And now he's dead. Hello, you got stuck in the snow, eh? Oh, idiots. Stuck in the snow. What kind of idiot would get stuck in the snow? Now that my precious chastity had been secured, I headed home and once again met the beastmen in my basement. Oh, there's more beastmen in my... Get out. The sun then began to rise, and I realized my feelings of security were a bit preemptive, as some vampire hunters had followed me home and come into the house. Luckily, my speed and increased damage meant that I was able to dance around them easily. I then mined some obsidian and turned it into glass panes, which was one of the necessary steps in order to restore my foundry to full functionality. With that done, I was now able to reinstall the juice sluices, allowing me once again to be able to melt things at full capacity. I was then blinded by a boner and suddenly realized that I was supposed to be putting torches up in here. Disengaging my vampiric night vision, it became abundantly clear why there constantly is vermin down here. It is pitch black! My mother always used to say that I'm most handsome with the lights turned off and the bag over my head. I globed Marvin a little bit and then headed outside to a nearby sky island. The reason why I was flying up to this thing is that there are slimes on here. They don't drop regular slimy goo, but the slime that they do drop may be able to be used in leads. I'm hoping to get Marvin some friends so I can sustain myself better. Marvin is a champion, but he's not enough. My plan was, in order to offer Marvin some relief from his blood donations, that we could find some sheep nearby and increase the herd. I found out that I can apparently build these chains. Apparently these are a more durable type of lead that can be used on more animals than default. In order to test the device, I chained Marvin up and dragged him around a bit. Turns out with these chains, you can also tie them to walls, not just fences. So for example, if we got young Marvin here, we can chain him to this. Yeah, poor Marvin, just chained to the wall. Before meeting his prospective wife, Marvin needs a haircut, so I quickly gave him a snip and then headed out. I found this bonny young lass out in the field, but then realized the kidnapping couldn't go ahead because I'd forgotten my chain. I always hate it when that happens. After correcting my error, I was able to return and test out my new device. I wonder if this is gonna work. It is! Ha-ha! I was hoping this would work. Yes, come with me. Oh no! Oh, I thought he fell. Despite my initial excitement though, when I returned home, I found that the chain had a problem. The physics isn't good. Just lower her through the roof. Oh. The pain! Patricia, I'm so sorry. Returning with a second specimen, I got a similar result despite being a lot more gentle with my lowering this time. Gently now. Oh, come on! It was so gentle! Returning to the forest, it would appear that I've killed every sheep that was living here. I could not find another, but I did run into a dog and decided to experiment with a new strategy. At first, I just tried yanking him with the chain, but he got stuck on the environment for some reason, and so I went once again back to the flying strat. This time, I would attempt to cushion the fall of the animal by placing a water bucket and henceforth a water stream. Problem was, I placed the water bucket on some slabs, so we didn't get a water stream, and the dog was turned into paste. Okay, dog's dead. This is the plan. Now, tomorrow night we're gonna have some animals around here. And the way that we're gonna do that is by doing this. Oh, Christ, no. Oh, the lava. This was a nightmare. Okay, we're going back to bed. Try again. Anyway, quick nibble, headed back outside, placed down some water, couldn't find any sheep, so decided to abduct a pig instead, and gingerly, with NASA-like precision, lowered this man down onto the aquatic substance, and this time, the animal was not reduced to a fine paste outside my home. Like this. Lovely, it worked. Brilliant. Pigington? Much to the benefit of my therapist, it seemed I wasn't able to pull the pig over blocks though. He was right outside my house and I still couldn't get him in here. I ended up just stealing a carrot from my storage and luring him inside. With one successful kidnapping under my belt, I headed back outside to get the pig a friend, as I genuinely believe I have ran out of sheep. Woe be to Marvin's romantic prospects. I repeated the process as before, as it had shown to be effective. And now I had 2 pigs inside my house. Or at least, I believed I had 2 pigs inside of my house. In my haste, I hadn't actually tied up the first pig before leaving. And after exploring a little bit, I found out what had happened. Oh, he roasted himself instantly. Okay, let's go get another one. Oh, sweet lord, I just remembered. If I do that without having trapped this man, he will murder himself. Come with me. Come and join Marvin. Come on. Come join Marvin. There you go. As the old saying goes, if you kidnap a pig and he roasts himself on one of your lava plumes, you have to go and get a third. So one final extraction from the wilderness, and we now had a small herd of pigingtons. God, that was disturbingly difficult. It's almost day 112 now. Wasted 3 days getting 2 pigs into my place. But I think the pigs are good eating. Yeah, it's one thingy per pig. Unlike Marvin, who's only 0.5. Delicious. I then started to recline a bit, now that my food problem had been solved, and had a look round to see what else I should be working on next. I came to the conclusion that I need to find a vampire land very soon. I can't upgrade my vampire level anymore until we have some vampire books, and I need vampire bricks in order to upgrade the home. Whatever had caused the destruction of my home had also taken the golden blocks that were in my altar, but thankfully they hadn't looted the storage and I had plenty left, so was able to just replace them. With the altar's power restored, we can now check what we need to upgrade our vampire abilities. Or at least we would be able to if it were nighttime, which it isn't. My exploration would have to wait until nighttime though, so I decided to spend the day expanding the basement. Eventually, I'm going to replace every single dirt block in here with some form of brick or stone, but for now, I just wanted the space. As part of the renovation process, I needed more bricks, and was getting a bit bored of the tedium of crafting 1 brick at a time. So I instead decided to spend an embarrassingly long amount of time trying to get sluices to work in order to craft 2 at once. Eventually, some synapses formed and I was able to figure it out. The solution ended up being remarkably simple, but it took me over a day to figure this out. A half-motivated monkey with a limp could have figured this out in half the time. Next, I smelted myself a new tool. I used the steel I had in excess in order to craft myself a sledgehammer. This works exactly like the shovel, but on rocks. That night, out in the cold wilderness, I found what looked to be evidence of human civilization, but there was no human beings living here. They might have left, or they might have been killed. I don't know. All I knew is that I would have to keep looking if I wanted to find some nutritious food. Traveling a little further, I didn't find a vampire biome or any more signs of humans. But what I did discover is the woods near my house do tend to contain quite a few cows. These are not very nutritious, but they do have a lot of blood in them, meaning I need fewer of them to fill up my hunger bar. I didn't bother with these ones though, as they were a little too far from my home, and I needed the leather. Seeking shelter from the sun which was rising in the distance, I headed down into a little cave, and managed to find an abundance of silver. I decided I would go further into the cave to see if I could get enough to make myself a full armor set and end my nudity. The reward for my spelunking was a hell of a lot of copper and silver. Now I just needed to smelt it all. An extremely exciting process, I assure you. Sadly, I hadn't found enough silver for a full set, but I was able to at least make a chest plate. Now that no one could tell how cold I was feeling all the time, I decided to head outside with my dainty umbrella in search of a blue flower. I'm so dainty and beautiful. 1 blue flower, that's all I'm asking for. 5 minutes from my house, I stumbled across a small enclave. There were no people here, but there were 2 abandoned cows, and I certainly wanted to bring them home. They're not as nutritious as human beings, but they do have a lot of blood in them. Plus, additional options for my food supply won't go amiss. I left them for now and headed out. As night had fallen, I was able to fly. I was still surveying for my blue flower, but I noticed that right here we appear to have an amethyst geode. I have plenty of amethyst bronze at this point, but this is going to be helpful for magic later. Also, I should briefly mention why I'm looking for a blue flower. It's possible for me to enchant my sledgehammer, but I need all of these ingredients to do it. Only thing I'm missing, of course, is the blue flower. While I was flying about, I came across another one of those dragon tombs. And this one, a little more interesting than the others, as some of the enemies have appeared to have spawned outside. By simply flying around and walking on the treetops, we appear to have earned the aggression of some evil dog of hell and Arthas the Death Knight. Have any arrows? I don't have any arrows. Let's see if they hit hard. Oh yeah, they hit. Bravely taking a sudden political stance of pacifism, I decided to run away, and in so doing, found a tavern. This was my first real source of civilization thus far. Humans! Yes! Excellent! Hello, squire. Thank you. Oh wait, is that... It followed me all the way here. The discovery of these humans leads us to a possibility of a breeding program at some point in the future, so I made sure to grab the wheat while I was here. Upstairs, in a bedside table, I managed to find 2 maps of interest. Not really sure where they go, but they apparently lead somewhere. I'll probably look into them later. Bloody hell! Well, after that, I'm gonna need a snack. Oh, where is he? I'm back! Hello! I jotted down the location of the tavern and kept moving, almost straight into the belly of this hungry young ice dragon, who luckily happens to be sleeping right now. I think the main reason I hadn't had any trouble with the nearby dragons at this point was because all of the ones that I happened to come across were always sleeping. I think they tend to sleep during the night, which is when I'm most active. Just before morning, I ran into another tower filled with grey people. I was also being chased by phantoms, as you can hear. I usually ignore these, but this time I'm glad I didn't. I found something rather rare. This orange carrot-looking thing can apparently be turned into 32 arrows. This is brilliant because it's going to save me quite a lot of time gathering the arrows myself. So I yoinked those and also the magic powder that we'll later use for blood magic. With those in my pockets, I was getting hungry and it was time to head home. Lunchtime. Hello, bacon. How are you? It's just me, or are they giving less now? Oh, Marvin escaped. Ah! What has happened? Marvin? Oh, you're there. How did this happen? I don't understand. I later came to realize the likely cause of the repairs I suddenly had to do was that a fire had probably started. Was it caused by the lava that was right next to the wooden floor? Possible, but I think it was more likely Marvin. He told me that before he came to live with me, he'd been locked up in a state penitentiary for 6 separate accounts of arson. I asked him how he was able to light fire to things without having thumbs, and he simply didn't respond. Anyway, I was able to lure the animals back inside with the use of produce. I should probably have lured Marvin back into the pen as well, but I forgot. Now you lot stay put. I don't know who blew this hole in the side of my house. It wasn't me. After that was done, there was no time to waste. I needed to head back outside in search of that blue flower. Seeing a few flowers, there must be some cornflowers around here, surely. Maybe it's the wrong season, I'm not sure. Kinda hard to tell in this woodland. It's just winter all the time, except sometimes it's snowing worse. I traversed the snowy plains and fought off legions of sky bastards, only to run into a group of vampire hunters during the night, but this chance encounter came with the discovery. Oh, hello. What did he just drop? What did he drop? Ah! A vampire book! Yes! We can use that to level up! Brilliant! Oh, very good. Very good to know that. Allow me to clarify. It would seem that the elite vampire hunters drop vampire books. These are extraordinarily rare relics that are used in the process of improving my vampire abilities. They're basically one of the ingredients I need for the rituals. So this is good. Learning this means I'll be able to level up more. Look at all this snow. This whole area I live in, this whole country is just surrounded by white nonsense. While I was traveling, I found another dragon over there on the mountainside. He too was asleep, reinforcing my theory that dragons always sleep at night. Just as my arms were starting to get a bit tired, I came across what appeared to be some kind of flower biome. Literally all this biome is a place where flowers grow, and I still couldn't find my bloody flower. It's like every flower in existence here except the one that I need. This is bollocks. Eventually I left, and in the biome right next door, I found my flowers. Very annoyed to have spent so long on a quest that was literally just find a damn flower, I got home and enchanted my sledgehammer, finally. I was apparently also starving to death. Again. Yes, that's literally how long I was spending looking for the damn flower. And thanks to that amount of time I had wasted, I decided to head straight into a nearby cave to get what I need. Most important of which was silver, of course, for fashion reasons. But I also grabbed a few other things that I might need. After gathering what valuables I might want, I then focused on deep slate to fill out my inventory. And thanks to that bloody worthwhile mining session, I was able to fix the damn floor! And finally, I could stop tripping over things. It's only been like 2 weeks. Finally remembering to do this while it was still dark, I also headed upstairs to check what I needed to level up. Okay, what do we need? We need 10 human hearts, and we need pure blood too. Okay. Thankfully, vampiric pure blood is something I have in good supply, but the human hearts is definitely a problem. I only had 2 left, and in order to get more, I had to find a vampire land, something we've been searching for, but had no luck so far. The following day, with my repairs done, I had a look at the maps I'd managed to steal. One was a Badlands map, and the other one was a miner map. Both seem to be very far away from where I am right now, but it did occur to me it might be a good excuse to go out and try and find a vampire representative. Before leaving though, I wanted to stock up on supplies, and one of those supplies was flint. I needed it to upgrade my furnace and also make some more arrows. Later I was looking for gold, and I stumbled across something that was very odd. I suddenly noticed the ground beneath my feet was bricks and not just deep slate. Wait, deep slate bricks? Lapis? Into darkness. Underground crypt. Right, whoa. Oh, yep, they're aggressive. Whoa, let's go. Whoa, oh right. Well, that was exciting. Finding myself in the crypt, I really wished I wasn't almost naked. I wish I'd spent the time to finish off my armor before coming down here. I wasn't wearing any pants, and apparently my helmet broke at some point. But needless to say, I decided to stay. I decided with my vampire abilities, I probably have a pretty good chance of being able to loot this place without dying. Hopefully. They're quite good at knocking me off stuff. What do I do here? Oh, there's only a few of them actually. Maybe They do hurt though. Right, up we go. Bloody hell. Yeah, these blokes aren't messing around. I knew I didn't have the food to be able to wait until I naturally heal, so I decided to engage one of my vampire abilities. This one regenerates my health. Its caveat though is it drains my hunger even more, but it'll keep me alive while I manage to look around. So what was inside the tomb? Well, it was filled with a lot of spooky undead. These twats seem to pop up whenever you try and open one of the coffins. Can't a man grave rob in peace anymore? God, I hate this oversensitive modern era. I might not have had much vampire food, but I did find some human food, namely golden apples. These don't restore my hunger at all, but they can still be used for the buffs they provide. Begone, Spectre! As for the loot in the tomb, well, there was valuables, books, and pearls, which was very interesting. I needed those to enchant my sledgehammer further. As for enemies, well, there was some cultists. I didn't really chat with them very much. I just shot them from a distance. Bravely. The main bulk of enemies seemed to be made up of zombie dudes, who were just sitting around every corner and took a good stabbing before they would go down. And then of course there was the snowflake ghost that would attack me whenever I would grave rob. Probably the best thing I found down there was some rather odd iron equipment with really strong enchantments. Like for example this pickaxe here with Fortune 3. Oh, and I also found some books, yes. Which is great because I was thinking about enchanting stuff but didn't have the literature. The final thing I found down there was a book with apparently lore in it. I didn't take too kindly to that. Checking my watch, it was now apparently the night of day 118. I'd pretty much looted the whole tomb by now, and was also starving once again. So decided to head home. First thing I did when I was back was make some trousers. It was about time. Oh, and some shoes. Walking around on ice and broken glass is definitely a good way to keep yourself awake, but not so nice if you want to relax. Anyway, I popped upstairs for a quick McRib, and then popped downstairs to grab myself some shears. It was time to shave Marvin. I needed 1 wool in order to be able to craft myself a diamond umbrella. A diamond umbrella is the same as a normal umbrella, but it has much more durability. Problem was, if you remember some days ago, Marvin had been a terrorist and destroyed part of the house. And ever since then, he's been outside of the pig pen. He's had total freedom to walk around the house as he pleases. But now that Marvin's rent was due, he was suddenly nowhere to be seen. Where are you, Marvin? Oh, he might have roasted himself. They have a tendency to do that. Yep, he roasted himself. Oh, good job, Marvin. You're dead. Good news, though. In death, Marvin managed to drop the exact amount of wool I needed to finish my umbrella. I then took a moment to fill in the safety hazard so that hopefully animals would stop roasting themselves on my property. And it was now day 119, and I was heading outside to go and get the damn cows that lived nearby. I was a bit annoyed that I hadn't managed to find any humans to drink from yet. I mean, there's that tavern nearby, but that's a ways away. One of the things I found in that tomb was some slime balls, so I was able to make some leads to bring these juice boxes home. It was a pain in my hemoglobin, to be honest, but by nighttime I'd managed to get them both indoors. Lovely edible cows. Oh, they're still not... They have a lot of blood in them, but they're still very slow. It's day 120. We've got cows for food. We've also got a secondary food source of pigs. None of these are particularly good. We want humans. We also need hearts in order to level up. We managed to find a vampire book, which is awesome, but we need hearts. I then channeled my inner librarian and started building myself a library. This would increase the level of enchants I had available, and therefore we can get things done a bit faster. So this morning, on day 120, I've gotten myself corrective lenses. This has allowed me to see much farther than before. And there's something very interesting up there. I think that's a village. I can't believe I didn't come across it before, but there's a few floating things in the sky. And I think that one there is a village. It's snowing at the minute, which is nice.
Aurora Borealis?
I found my much-desired villagers up in the sky base, and immediately tried to chain them so I could carry them home. Unfortunately, it's not possible. So after draining this man, I headed home and devised a new plan. The plan was to once again build a great Atlantic railway that would carry my friends, to my home. Firstly, though, I needed a shelter to put them in once they arrived. Last thing we want is for them to arrive and then get eaten by something. By day 122, I'd finished building the human pen and got started on the rails. The plan was thus: we make a railway that goes down to the ice lake, we can then boat them south, and then connect a second railway over to the floating village. Building a railway happens to always be fraught with peril, as I learned when I was attacked by a giant recluse spider. What the sweet Lord Jesus is that? What on earth? A spider lunger. Ooh. No, I say no. By day 123, my nipples were hurting and I was out of redstone. As luck would have it though, there was a nice little cave nearby and I was able to restock my pockets. Also, I happened to find a blighted goblin trader in that cave. Very unusual find, and his name was Razmataz Jim. Razmataz Jim actually sold me a whole bunch of iron which I needed to make more rails. So he's a very nice guy. Oh, and I finally remembered that I was supposed to be doing something with blood spells, and looking into the situation, found I was actually able to create my first spell book. This flimsy journal only has 5 spell slots, but it will get us started. I will quickly mention that I do know I have this, but I thought it'd be more interesting if we go through the progression system rather than just having this book that I found. So, we're gonna use the flimsy journal. We're gonna flims it up. Oh, it's a flimsiness. Now, despite the flimsiness of my journal, it still had 5 spell slots to its name, which is more spells than I even have, so it'll do. I looked into finding more spells, but it looks like to make blood spells, we need blood. And unlike my vampire juice that I keep drinking, this stuff is only made by boiling people in a specific cauldron that I can't build, unless I go back to the Nether. Which I didn't really want to do. I don't like the Nether, it smells. On day 126, the railway was mostly done. I just had to figure out a way to hook it round so that I can get underneath where our villages are. Okay, I'm blind. Why am I blind? Hello, why am I blind? Was I looking at the sun? Is it a turtle? Was it the turtle that blinded me? Now that the railway itself had been finished, I now had to just figure out a way to get up there and get the humans out. Once it was nighttime, I hovered back up at a snail's pace to try and figure out their exact positions. And once it was morning, I built the villagers a little landing zone. The plan was to have them skydive down and into the nice bath where they would be carried away by the railway. I decided I would save the skydiving lessons for tomorrow, and headed home under cover of darkness. Just inside the foyer, there happened to be 2 frost trolls in one of the rooms. Now, naturally, my first thought was I should keep them as pets. But wouldn't you believe it, the one time I have frost trolls in my foyer, and I don't have any bloody name tags. So unfortunately, they're going to despawn. What's going on? Oh, they're doing the old face-off, eh? Yeah. What is happening? Am I witnessing a troll debate? Save it for the parliamentary discussions, people. This is not the proper forum for this. Settle down. This is my house. Get out of here. Go on. Well, they're non-aggressive now. They seem to have redirected their aggression towards each other. I then gave our good friend Mr. Periwinkle here a little nudge, and he went for his first skydiving lesson. Oh, yes. Perfectly calculated. Yes, indeedy. Once Mr. Periwinkle was on his way, I followed him all the way back to the base just to make sure he didn't, get eaten or something on the way. I did have a little bit of trouble with the second part of the transport, which was removing him from the ice lake and putting him onto the second railway that goes to the house. My main concern was I was worried as soon as I broke the boat he would try to flee, and then my minecart abandoned me as well. No, it took a few hours of the day, but eventually I wrangled that little gremlin and got him safely into his cage. Yes, he's in. Oh, thank God. Now, powered rail. That's all we need. And then we just push him up. And there we go. Oh, I keep forgetting I can't fly at daytime. There he is. He made it. A man with very little blood. It was about that time it occurred to me I should put a roof on my little shelter here, lest he be eaten by some of the giant spiders or other gremlins that live nearby. I didn't need to get fancy with it. He's just a villager. But I at least wanted him alive so I could drain his blood and stuff. And look at this cute little guy. He's so happy to be here. And we're gonna lock him in. As soon as it was nighttime and I had my bad form restored, I floated back to the island, pushed our friend's wife off the top, and then stabbed this grey man to death. I will say most of Jimothy's transport went well, apart from the bit at the end. That's it. He's in. Jimothy, welcome to the program. That's my boy. Oh crap. Oh, he's gonna get a concussion. I forgot to open up the thing. Oh wait, or maybe it'll just suffocate him slightly. I'm not sure which is gonna happen. He's either gonna get a concussion, or he's gonna get suffocated ever so slightly and come back down to us. Sounds like a zombie just got him. How did a zombie get in here? I left the gate open like a moron. Oh, you testicle. And now poor young Jimothy and Henry are both zombies. Great. Love that for us. Now, luckily, I did have the reagents required to cure them both of their zombie illness. But it was annoying, and I was not happy about it. And while those two are turning from zombies back into humans... Actually, do we even bother dismantling the railway? I don't know. What are you holding? What is this? Psycho? It's currently day 131. No trolls in the foyer today. It's a shame I couldn't name tag those men. Would have been cool. On day 132, I decided it's time for more exploring. We're gonna try and go a decent distance away this time. And we're not gonna get distracted by stupid caves. Or I should say that was the plan, until I noticed that there's a blighted mob over there. I couldn't tell what it was though, so I made a little tower, and found it to be a blighted giant huntsman spider. Okay. No. I'm getting the hell out of here. We've decided against going west. Instead, we're gonna go south. Because there's a giant blighted wolf spider. I really needed human hearts or vampire books. And the reason why is I'm sick of being a low-leveled vampire. It's about damn time I get some recognition as the vampiric overlord I've always wanted to be. Easier said than done though, as my travel was consistently interrupted by the presence of fire dragons, and ice dragons, and even lightning dragons. Oh my... Okay. Completely surrounded by dragons on all sides, I ended up having to take refuge in a cave and found something quite interesting. It was an ancient wrought knot. It's not every day you stumble across one of these on the walk to the shops. And it was then I noticed, not only that, but this cave also happens to house an entire ancient city. So my spelunking has unexpectedly bore fruit. And to think I was just down here escaping dragons. This might be the only time in history where cave diving's proven useful. Far be it from me to judge the cave diving influencers who seem to love crawling into places called the Devil's Death Sphincter with confusing enthusiasm. But anyway, as I was rationing my hearts and was now starving to death in this cave, I decided to build a waystone and placed it just outside the night boss thing. This is, the night guy cave spider place. That's the one. The Night Guy Cave Spider Place. We're 2,691 blocks from Sangariaville. Nice. And now we're home. Let's get some blood on us. Oh, and it's just the morning of day 134, it seems. Oh wait, the humans! We have humans to drink from. What am I doing over here on the cows? Humans! Oh, my precious, precious humans. You're like children to me. How are you enjoying your quarters? Oh yeah, these guys are so much more efficient. Thank you. Thank you for your patronage. As can naturally happen, I managed to lose my pants in that cave, so I've made some new ones. These are enchanted diamond pants that give me a hell of a lot of bonus health. They have a vitality buff on them. I feel like I've just had an orange after 6 kebabs and 12 beers. Health is my passion. I also then enchanted my chest plate. I got an enchantment called Inner Strength. Goodbye, depression. Why did no one tell me I have the wrong skin on? I've had it on for hours. Damn it. This is not a vampire. This is just a man with some kind of serious eye alignment problem. Oh, and the villagers appear to have procreated while I wasn't looking. So that's nice. On day 135, I finally remodeled the Goon Cave. Replaced all the dirty floor and the grub-filled walls to spruce this place up a little bit. By nighttime, I'd felt the call to adventure again and went back to our beautiful cave, headed outside, and forgot about the lightning dragon. Volcano or something over here. Ooh, that is definitely a lightning dragon that's seen me. Oh, thank God I got into a cave. Oh, I feel like that happened last time. I forgot. It's the same thing. Same thing just happened. Am I a moron? Yes. Yes, I am. Even after I'd escaped, I was still seeing lightning flying through the rocks. So I decided to stay in the cave that night. One of my better decisions. Instead, I nipped down to the ancient city that was below us. I thought I'd have a peek in a few chests and see if I can't figure out how to not summon the warden. I'm very bad at it. With the clever use of some wool I gathered from nearby, and a little bit of education from people who are much better at this game than me, I managed to figure out that if you build the wall, the sound can't travel through it, and was able to grab the valuables safely. And even got one of these ancient book thingies. You need a bunch of ingredients I don't currently have, but hey, maybe I'll make that. Maybe. I also found some rune stones, a poison immunity ring, and several other valuable things like name tags. Lastly, I also found these echo shard things. They can be used in spell crafting to craft legendary spells. I don't actually know if there are any legendary blood spells, but if I want to make one, I need to have this. Once daylight broke, instead of risking it by going outside in front of the lightning dragon mouth, I decided to head home quickly. And the following evening, I continued my explorations, this time flying high enough such that the lightning dragon couldn't smell me. On day 137, I finally found what I'd been looking for. It's quite hard to tell, but it's that little dead patch of blackness over there. Or at least I thought I had. I thought this dark, gloomy place on the horizon was going to be the vampire land I've always wanted, but instead it was just a stupid old shattered glacier. Shattered like my dreams and hopes and kneecaps after I forgot to pay the Minecraft Mafia that one time. Persistence is gonna be key. And I found another dark-looking land off in the distance. Another possibility for success. And this time, not only did I find a bunch of human beings with far too much blood in their bodies, but I was also rewarded with the beautiful land of the vampires. Oh, I'm finally home! Ah yes, the beautiful, pale-faced, knife-wielding people of my homeland. Interestingly, there was also a Greek-looking temple nearby. I actually know what this is. It's a dungeon. Down below, we can find Gorgons, who can turn anything instantly to stone. So I'm gonna be careful and not go down there. I also found Mr. Depth Perception nearby. He has a bunch of sheep, so if I want to get wool, I can find it in there. But it's these guys here who are the most interesting part of this land. From them, we can get royal vampire blood, and allegedly, more vampire books for leveling. And the final mechanic of the vampire lands is that I can be here without dying. Look, I can even go into bat form. It's currently daytime, and I can fly around. Because the vampire lands are surrounded by a magical entity known as the vampire fog, and allows vampires to live here without trouble. Look, go right out into the sun. Oh, I love it. I love being in the sun. Not in real life, of course. Naturally, I wasn't going to be hiking back here every 15 minutes, so I decided to place a new waystone right by the wasps. On day 140, I managed to get enough hearts to be able to level up. As a reminder, this ritual can only be performed at night, requires some pure vampire blood, human hearts, and a vampire novelette. And with that, I was now able to get myself to a sprightly level 9. Yes, fill me. Yes! Oh, love me that sangria. From that level up, we got 2 skill points, which I decided to spend on blood vision. I can see living things around me through blocks. Main reason I got it though is because next level would be able to get a permanent attack damage increase, and me like do more damage. But sadly I was now out of vampire books again. I needed another one if I want to get to level 10. So I thought I'd quickly head back to the vampire land, see if I can't find another. Now, I had thought that the best way to get vampire books out here was to stab vampire barons in the mouth. Problem was, I really don't know what the drop rate is. I killed maybe 4 or 5 of them, and I got nothing. Now, over to the west, I found a strange building that caught my eye. And inside, I found a bunch of vampire collectibles, including a full tank of blood, which is nice. I'm sure that was ethically acquired. But much more arousingly, I found a vampire novelette in one of the chests. I did not know this was a thing. Oh yes, a book! Hey! How about that? What is this? What is this little tower? I didn't know these things existed. There weren't many other valuable things in that place, but the book was brilliant. And I also stole the cranberry juice. So this has been quite the discovery. There apparently exist POIs in the world where vampire books can spawn in chests. This is good to know, because I've had piss poor luck trying to find them as drops, I'm gonna be honest. Oh, and I also found this thing in the vampire tower. And this is what it does. It holds things. It's my most valuable possession. Day 141 and 142, I just did a little bit of admin, including finishing off labeling my bloody chest so I stop forgetting where the tea kettle is kept, and then also replacing the wooden floor that sits right next to the lava. I was getting a bit sick of putting out all the fires, you see. It then occurred to me I should put these damn villagers to work. If I put this compost bucket down, I believe one of those villagers over there should turn into a farmer, and then they'll feed themselves and reproduce. That's how babies are born. Now, I had an idea to expand my villager operations. Having them all cooped up in one small pen with only a farmer to keep them company is a bit sad. But in order to expand the building, I would need more stone or deep slate to build with. While gathering, I curiously kept on finding these sapphires. I decided to explore my curiosity and look at what they're used for. Ice Dragon Summoning Crystal. Oh. Right-click on a dragon to bind it use when bound to teleport dragon. Them some good words right there. Far more startling than the lack of parentheses, though, was my constant encounters with spiders larger than my student loan debt. Nope. Oh, no. Screw that. First of all, I used the stone I found to finish off the walls of my basement, and then with the use of my fanciful umbrella, went outside to gather some lava, and used it to refill some portions of the lava moat. The hope is that with the lava moat around the outside, it'll stop giant spiders from crawling in. Unfortunately, I'd been working so hard over the past few days, I neglected my blood meter and managed to start starving again. Weakened by my lack of food, I then had to crawl over to the human pen, only to find that they'd created a friend. At first, I thought since he was spawned by my villagers, he'd be friendly. Sadly, this golem loves kicking starving people in the kidneys, and so I had to fight unconsciousness through my starvation, chop a tree to grab blocks, and then when I returned, ready to kill the golem, he'd wandered off further, so I was able to just sneak my way inside. Whew. Right. Who's spawning golems in here? Wait, you're all going to bed again? So every time I come in here, you go to bed. Thank you for the blood. There we go, we're all filled up. We're gonna have to separate these men from the outside world, because if there's monsters nearby, they'll summon golems. So maybe we'll make this place wider or thicker or something. Deeper. Deeper is a good idea. In the morning, I met a man called the Nightmarish Crab. I never saw him after this moment, but he had a great name, so I thought I'd mention him. What are you doing here, the Nightmarish Crab? Oh, you do have 4 eyes. It's kind of weird. It's 2 more than you need. While I was planting some trees that I was going to use for wood later, I managed to get popped in the mouth by our friend. Not as dangerous as I thought. Checking in on the villagers, our boy Fred the farmer has decided to start selling vegetables. And if I'm correct, he'll start feeding the others too, which will result in more children. So, I needed more room for these villagers. The problem was, I didn't want to spend 8 years building a new railway or anything like that. So I just set about dismantling part of the enclosure. The idea is, instead of moving these guys to different places, we'll just send them downwards. We'll build a city, a great underground city, and turn these people into mole men. In fact, we managed to gain 2 volunteers while I was just digging away. So they're going to be the progenitors of our great mole race. I sealed them in and began digging. Rationally, at some point in the future, my great sledgehammer is going to break, and probably quite a few times. So I knew it was probable I'd have to go into the Nether later to get myself some more cobalt to repair this thing. As I've said before, I'm not a big fan of the Nether, so I really didn't want to. But as the days are flying by, it's becoming more and more necessary. If I recall, I then started going a bit mad and invented some kind of law where the top layer villagers consider themselves to be higher class. Upper class, snooty types. Unlike those stinky bottom layer villagers. Just down there in the dark, reading. Disgusting. Moving on from the extremely prejudicial class system I apparently have invented, I decided to get cracking on a new project. I suddenly realized it makes no sense at all that I appear to have a second floor balcony, but no second floor. This balcony just exists on its own, in isolation, like me. But we can solve it. We can just build a second floor. I started by throwing a little deep slate around the outside, because originally I thought this would be a good floor material. I also finally got round to fixing the damn hole in the back of the house. It's now day 146, and I've just filled the gaping hole. I had changed my mind about using deep slate for the floor upstairs. Instead, I wanted to use these cursed logs. They have a very pretty dark blood red wood color, and I think it'll look pretty good in my foyer. I tried to plant some of these trees at home, but the cursed trees seem to be a subspecies of the regular dark spruce tree that also exists in the Vampire Lands. I didn't know if it was a chance-based thing or if they can only spawn in the Vampire Lands. I checked on the lower class peasantry and found them to all be sleeping happily, and most importantly to still all be alive. I'm actually here for food. Thank you, Jebediah. I don't really want my free-range humans to start developing rickets, so the plan was to give them plenty of space down there. The overarching idea is to create what is essentially an upside-down pyramid. Instead of building a big triangle on top of the land, you instead dig it under. That should give me plenty of space to develop whatever society I would like. And with a thriving society, hopefully I'll get tastier blood. On day 147, I got started on my upstairs, and in the evening, after some dinner, in a convenient timing, I was assaulted by a horde of vampire hunters. Usually, being human beings, they can open doors and get through. Unfortunately for them, though, they haven't quite developed the prefrontal cortex sophistication required to be able to duck underneath a single trapdoor. Channeling my vampiric rage for the smooth brains, in the morning I had a significant amount of human hearts and vampiric accessories to choose from. Being a rather simple creature myself, I mainly just chose whatever ones would give me either more speed or more damage. Getting back inside, another troll had made its way into my home, and this one had managed to get stuck in my ritual altar. I picked up a name tag from downstairs and named her Penelope. So Penelope is now trying to beat me to death with a large stick. Ever since those trolls were staring each other down in my foyer, I had a hope that another troll would spawn inside, so that I could name tag it and tie it up outside to defend my house. The only problem I had, besides the rampant concussions that were gradually turning my brain into a soupy substance, yes, the only other problem was that I completely forgot one main fact about trolls. They turn to stone in the sunlight. How did I forget this? I spent like 20 minutes trying to get this girl outside, and now she's just T-posing at me. Cool. I did learn something, though. Apparently I was able to push Penelope by standing behind her at certain angles. So I slowly but surely pushed Penelope all the way around to the front of the house, at which point I dug her up a little plinth to stand on. It wasn't my original intention, but I do think it looks quite cool. Penelope is going to guard the house one way or another. Only problem, of course, is that she's a little lonely by herself, and I now had to get another one in order to preserve symmetry. As a blood moon began to rise on day 149, I thought it was about time that I level up once again. I thought I only needed 10 hearts for this, but turns out I needed 15. I was 1 heart short. Don't you hate it when you only have 14 human hearts and you need 15? But I remedied this by going over to the nearest vampire hunter encampment and giving the men there a swift kick in the groin. And I was now vampire level 10. We're in the double digits. That surely demands some level of respect and friends. Lovely. 3 skill points. Permanent attack damage. Gotta be it, doesn't it? But this is useless to me. I like that. Yep. Attack damage. Looks like level 11 requires 15 human hearts, pure blood level 3, and another vampire novelette. I spent day 150 building, and as such needed to get more materials the following day. During which, I got very excited upon finding this. Vampires. A vampire spawner. Oh, hello! Oh, yes! I'm a lucky boy. Regeneration, slightly increased speed. Moderately increased speed, slightly decreased damage. Okay. How are we? Sorry, I stabbed that first bloke. One of the reasons I needed to restock was because my armor broke again, and my no-fun neighbors kept on calling the police because I was walking around without trousers. I had been continuing to feed my cows, by the way. I wanted to increase the size of the herd. I wasn't using them for blood anymore, but later I'm going to be using them for meat. I'll leave it as a bit of a surprise, but we're going to be doing something quite exciting in a bit. The following day, I chopped down all the trees that had grown near my house. None of them had turned into cursed trees. I don't know how that mechanic works, but I assume it's something to do with the vampire lands themselves. And being out here in the tundra is not conducive towards cursed trees. But the regular dark spruce trees are actually pretty cool themselves. They provide this kind of gothic-looking wood. And as we all know, goths are... they're pretty good. Oh! Hello! Thanks for stopping by. Right next to the vampire woods, I managed to find my first actual village. But other than stealing the beds and glorping a few villagers, there wasn't really much to do. None of the villagers had jobs. They're all just lazy. The person I'm looking for is a vampire representative. They offer vampire-specific quests and can give vampire-specific rewards, including human hearts. This tends to be the easiest way to get lots of human hearts, other than just buying them from vampire salesmen. We need to find a vampire totem. This will indicate that the village is owned by vampires and will spawn vampire-specific traders. The main thing holding back my progress towards finding one of those was the presence of giant fire-breathing lizards. And I'm not really one to throw down with giant lizards over a pork scratch and half a bag of toast. So whenever I saw a dragon that was awake and incinerating villagers, I just kept on moving. I'm one to mind my own business, especially when it comes to not being boiled. Later in the night, I managed to find a really strange village. It was filled with vampire hunter houses, but only one vampire hunter trainer. I tried to stab him, but he proved resistant. What I did find, though, was our beautiful, unclaimed vampire totem. Actually, this is technically also a hunter totem. It's unclaimed at the moment, so it doesn't belong to either faction. But I was able to break it and steal the base. It's unusable without a top. And the top is quite hard to craft, but it can be done. I just have to sacrifice one of my potential levels. The hope is that if I make it, I'll eventually make my money back, but it might take some time. Oh, and just to highlight the dangers of exploring, there's 2 dragons over there eating each other's eyes. Nearly every village I've seen tonight has had a dragon nearby. It's been good. But the finding of a totem means I can technically found my own vampire village instead of having to constantly try and find one. I just need enough space in here to be able to develop it. So I'm basically going to become mayor of a vampire village. Yes, I'll be breaking away from vampiric stereotypes and this time getting involved in real estate and politics. It's never been done before. In one of the villages during the night, I managed to find a rotten egg. Apparently these have a small chance to spawn chicken things. So I thought I'd give it a go. Oh my god, it worked! Yes! Oh yeah, only problem is he's gonna get very annoyed by my undead friends. You there? Stop. Okay. Why did he make that noise? Like he transformed into a parasite. You stay there. Calm down. We're gonna have to give him a name. Glorpmeyer. Calm down, Glorpmeyer. Behave yourself. Actually, speaking of last night, I did also nick a few dragon scales from the dragon who happened to die in that fight. I got some red scales and was able to make myself a helmet and some boots. I wasn't a high enough level to be able to enchant them to max yet though, so they're going in the storage chest. I then decided what I would do with my vampire village is create a great tower thing with a big hole in the middle. There'll be 2 top layers, and then I'll send the village children down into the hole. A good old-fashioned orphan hole. I have put some fences up around the hole, though, to stop any unwanted transitioning between the classes. Anyway, I decided a few layers down there would be a massive open area, and that's what's gonna house our vampire village. And so I spent the next good while digging out the earth, increasing the depth and making sure I had enough room for what I wanted. I spent quite a few days on the project, and when I finally returned home, I found that my child had grown up. Oh, Glorpmeyer! You've grown up! You're a big boy. Now, I mentioned that I really didn't like going to the Nether, as it smelled. But the problem was I was consistently running out of durability on my sledgehammer. It simply wasn't possible to continue digging with my current tools and resources. And within the short few days I've been digging, I've managed to run out of both cobalt and steel, meaning I have nothing left to repair my sledgehammer with. Also, there was another problem. Because I hadn't lit up the big hole that I've been digging, it seems to have got completely filled with spiders. As well as Adrian Draxwind over here, who I believe is a Sonic OC. And so I reached a point where eventually I needed more cobalt to repair my hammer with. And so I had to bite the bullet and go back to the smelly old Nether. Oh, Jesus! Okay. Ow! There's a cactus right in front of my eyes. Can I stab this man? It looks like I can. I'm gonna stab him. No. Come here. Get stabbed, nerd. Whoa. Bad pig. Don't you know I'm a vampire? Oh, you dropped hog skin. We could make a new spellbook with that. Finding what I needed didn't take too long, but I thought I'd spend a little more time here just to scope out my surroundings. I also grabbed some glowstone in order to light up the damn spider hole. Okay, let's head back. This place sucks. Oh, a fire gremlin. The carrots are a very good trade. This is a good source of emerald right there. Yeah, let's trap you in here. Wait, hang on. I don't know if he'll stay forever, but hopefully he will. I used the hog skin that I got in order to make myself a new spellbook. This spellbook can hold up to 10 spells, which is kinda useless really, because I only have 2 spells. But since we've gone back to the Nether anyway, if I find an ancient battleground, I'll be able to make a cauldron to boil people down and make some more blood spells. As you do, I suppose. With my new cobalt and my extra lighting sources, I headed back down into the basement. I'd managed to stop the spider spawning, but it was still very dark down here. On the morning of day 162, I was hearing some very strange sounds coming from upstairs as I was making repair kits for my sledgehammer, and I decided to go up to investigate, only to find I've apparently been invaded by dragon minions. And they wanted my eyes. A dread ghoul? And they're killing my cows! What? Ah! What is going on? Why is he killing? What are you doing? Okay, that guy over there has problems. The scuttler thing. What has happened here? What is this? I'm fighting for my life in my own cow pen. This shouldn't happen. What the heck was that? What happened to the giant spider? Oh no, there it is. What are these things? And what did I get from killing them? Thank you for your sacrifice. Getting murdered by those people. I'm sorry, I have no idea what just happened. We were just assaulted by dread liches or something. Oh, and the spider's here now. Yes. Good to see you. Ow. What the hell just happened? Glotmeyer, did you see what happened up there? It's nuts. We've got a lot of our own cow's leather and beef, though, so that's good. Popping back to the Nether after that nonsense, I thought I'd try and find an ancient battleground. And I also took the time to grab some crying obsidian while I was there. The main thing I found was bloody bastions. I found like 5 of them within a small radius. Kinda nuts. Get out of here. What it did allow me to do, though, is gather some blackstone so I could make a teleport portal. Whenever I find the ancient battleground, I'll just teleport home from there. And on day 163, I found it. This is the ancient battleground, and the ancient knights that we need to kill are these little unconscious pieces of armor down here. I thought I wouldn't disturb them just yet and make my portal home first. I want to finish off the village. After all, I'm gonna need mobs to boil, and I'll have plenty of villagers once that's done. Later, I had a new friend turn up. It's another frost troll, and he's beating me to death already. Alright, calm down. Calm down. You might have seen those stone trolls outside. They were like that when I got here. While he was superfying my meager intelligence, I put a wall down and chained him to it. We already had 2 trolls outside and I didn't need a third, but I thought I'd keep him anyway. I may have been heavily injured, but he's now trapped. Okay, so let's name the troll Charles. There he is. Ow. Calm down, Charles. Alright, now's not the time for this tomfoolery. There's a lot of zombie men down here. For the place that's supposed to be lit up so that nothing can spawn. It's too dark in the middle. That's what it is. Later, during a vampire raid, I was legally defending myself against some hunters, and I found a new source of vampire books. A vampire book! There was a hunter just then, one of these blokes. He just killed a vampire hunter, and it dropped a vampire book. This discovery was kind of crazy. I knew that they could drop them, but I thought it was really rare. Meanwhile, I've seen vampire hunters drop a few of these over the past several weeks, so it might just be that they're much more common than I thought. Only problem is, I'm still lacking in human hearts. I don't have a reliable source of them yet, and in order to get to a much higher level, we're going to need a larger quantity. So it's time for me to keep working on the villager situation. If we can get a vampire trader down here, we might be able to buy human hearts or at least do quests for them. But there were still millions of spiders spawning down there, so I needed to light it up a bit more. Seems to be fewer creatures down here now, so that's good. I do think we've lost a couple of villagers. I don't know how, but there definitely used to be more than 4. I think there was like 7 at one point. What happened? I don't know. It's one of life's mysteries. Alright, Charles, how are things? Can we put a fence around Charles, perhaps? Don't worry, Charles. Out. Calm down. Charles. Charles, please. Out. Charles. Okay. Ow. Okay, Charles broke the fence. Let's get some more walls. Charles. Settle down. Charles. Ow. Enough. Enough of this. Charles. Ow! He's beating me like a blancmange. Whoop. There we go. My head injuries due to Charles should now stop. In order to become master of the blood, I'm going to need to develop my blood spells. I've already outlined before that we can boil villagers to get blood, but one of the things we need is a special cauldron, and we can make it after we've fought this man. There he is. Ow. Oh, he hurts. Oh, he hurts bad. Ow. Okay, we got him. So we've got our cinder essence now. How do we make the thing? That? Yep. Okay, we got the alchemist cauldron. I plonked my cauldron down in the soon-to-be villager hole, and then went back to the Nether to get myself some blaze blood, wither skulls, and more glowstone. I also made myself a new waystone so that I could get back here easily. This is a rather large Nether fortress I've found, and I want to get more skeleton skulls to be able to summon the wither if I need to. And now the villager hole should be finished. I'm gonna give it a little bit of time to rest just to make sure that nothing's spawning. Last thing I want is Shelobs ruining my nice warm villager farm. I don't know why I called it warm there. I should probably cut that. Now then, I wanted to get myself some red wool. I really didn't want to redo my entire floor in my house, but I simultaneously was absolutely hating the spruce flooring. So I thought some carpets might be in order. On my way to the sheep, I ran into a camp of hunters and made sure to stab them for the heart. He just singed him. Jumping into the Cyclops lair, which I later learned is extremely dangerous, I found the Cyclops to be unable to move. He appears to be stuck on a fence. This was good for me, because it meant I could paint his sheep without him getting angry and eating me. While I was doing that, the goon squad appeared again, and complete with a few blighted friends. In fact, I very nearly died. I was getting pretty good at dealing with these chaps now, though. I just dug myself a big hole for them to all walk into. And as the sun rose, it happened to be raining, so it was good. I was able to keep stabbing them in the hole while the sun was up. That's it, boys. Everyone stack up. And by the time that the harvest was complete, I had managed to gain myself a juicy 37 levels. And 21 human hearts. Tasty! I then flew back to breed the red sheep. I did think about making my own sheep farm, but honestly I can't be bothered. As some time has now passed, I decided to check up on the prospective village location, and nothing has spawned down here. So it's about time we start moving some villagers in. There were a couple of possible villager transportation strategies I had in mind. The first was to dig a hole right through and then use a water bucket to be able to send them down. Problem is, I realized I'd be basically waterboarding them for a good 5 minutes until they got deep enough to be able to breathe again. So I elected to choose the far more demure boat strategy to get them in. Oh, sorry. Just in case we saw any creepy crawlies spawning down here, I thought I'd make them some quick, simple houses. This way, with our little stone igloos, hopefully we'll eliminate any possibility for error. And let's be honest, they shouldn't really be complaining about their stone igloos. Most of my villagers simply get a dirty mattress laid on the floor by which they can exist and breed. If only it were possible to get such luxury in central London. But I digress. Next, I removed the beds from Fred's enclosure at the very top. It used to be these beds were occupied back when Fred used to have friends. But one too many late-night Twitter postings, and Fred is now alone. It was now time for me to place down the vampire totem that we'd built. But I was then informed that my villagers are too lazy to be able to make this into a village. We're gonna need more labor. After throwing down a fletching table, I was then able to finish off the procedure. So I assume... Whoa! Angry villager, and he's got a fork. After taking care of the belligerent, the rest of the transition happened rather smoothly. Nearby village has been captured by vampires. Yay! It's the vampire village. Are you excited? Are you excited? Let's celebrate. These guys are all good. Whoa, this guy's glowing purple. Are you becoming a vampire man? He did! Interesting. In a very surprising turn of events, I returned to the top to find that Fred now has friends. And some of them are ghouls. And are draining him of all of his blood. Classic Fred. Aren't you glad, Fred? You've got some friends. Where'd you buy them? What, they're all spawning. Jeez. There's loads of villagers. Outside in the snows, I found our vampire representative. This is the man who's going to be giving us quests to do. It's hard to say. Quests to do. Right now he has a meager selection of bad quests, I would call them. The rewards for both are just chainmail. Don't know what that's about. I would like some human hearts, please, and make it snappy. Down in the hole, we have our vampire expert. Unfortunately, this man doesn't sell hearts, he buys them and trades them for very weak vampire blood. Not useful at all, but hopefully we can level him up and maybe we'll get something good. Look at these prices. It is obscene. When I woke up on day 171, we had a new troll in our house. I thought he could be friends with Charles. I made a name tag and was just about to name him Sebastian. And then the problem started. Which one's Charles? Oh no! Charles! Get him, Charles! Smack him out! Death. Oh no! Ah! Please tell me that Charles survived. No! Sebastian won! You twat. Noticing that the east side window has been completely shattered by Sebastian's rage.
Kevin, watch the light, dude.
I headed around to try and do some repairs because I was worried he might escape. It was then that he escaped. I tried to lure him back round, but he's already turned to stone. Great. Charles was killed. Sebastian killed him and then was stupid enough to get turned into a stone statue. In order to celebrate my new position as mayor of Vamp Town, I thought I might level up a bit. Funnily enough, this is the exact same thing that all politicians do when they're sworn in.
Oh, Mike, don't say that.
I thought I'd get this cute little pink guy. I don't really know what he is, and I also don't really know what a neonatal form is. But we'll get it so that we can get teleportation next level. Just as I was heading back from chopping wood the following day, I noticed that someone was murdering my villagers, and it wasn't me. Heading inside, I found it to be vampire hunters, and then I noticed at the top that apparently my village is under attack. After tenderizing the two people inside, I then went down and found that was it. It was just those two guys. Well, it was just those two guys that got inside. There was more, but they were outdoors. I took it upon myself to track down and finish off the last assaulters, and in doing so, suddenly realized I wasn't getting roasted by the sun anymore. I'd forgotten that in vampire villages, vampires are immune to the sun. So even though my village is underground, I'm now able to walk around in the sunlight, as long as it's very close to the village. I did some experimentation to figure out exactly how far away I could go from the village, and found it to be about where the lake is. Which isn't bad, really. Early morning on day 173, I was out gathering some wool from sheep and noticed this bloke steadily ambling towards the Cyclops. He was eaten, and this then caused an unexpected and annoying side effect of the Cyclops now being free. So now there's a giant Cyclops roaming around the vampire woods. Great! Now I'm not about to let some giant one-eyed testicle-slinging communist walk around the vampire woods, so it's about time I make myself a new ranged weapon. I've created this cobalt bow. It's not particularly powerful, but I eventually will be able to stick crystals onto it, and at that point it'll be good. In order to upgrade my bow, I had to spend a couple of days in the Nether gathering things to be able to do so. I mainly needed blaze blood, which is an ingredient that's used in my furnace, and I've made this new sword that can store it for me. Further down into the fortress, I found a blaze spawner. and made a little ceiling above it so the blazes couldn't escape, and then simply stabbed them until they enjoyed it. The added heat from the blaze blood in my furnace allowed me to melt some special jelly, which I can then pour onto dirt, and that'll give me crystals somehow. Related, all of the fighting and smithing I've been doing had left me a little thirsty, and I made the discovery I can drink from Glorpmire. Glorpmire, you've Thank you, Glorpmire. It's like KFC, but for vampires. Anyway, enough about Glorpmire's tasty gravy for blood. Going back to the crystal thingy, I need a lot of crystals to be able to level stuff up. In fact, it was beginning to dawn on me that it was probably far more efficient to simply go back to the Nether and find more crystal geodes. That is, instead of squirting jelly onto dirt blocks to make crystals. Yeah, what even is this process? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Although things were very comfortable at the moment, and we've been doing some good work, I was starting to get a bit itchy for something more adventurous. So I decided I'm going to go out tomorrow and kill a dragon. In order to do this, I'm currently gathering quartz, because we can upgrade our axe a single time, and make it a bit sharper. So it's now day 178, and let's go fight a dragon. I need blood. I'm always out of blood. Okay, blood refilled. Thought before I'll go out, I will test the ambrosia. I seem to remember it was very good, but I couldn't remember the specifics. Eating it reminded me that it gives me absorption and strength, both of which are going to be helpful in stabbing a lizard. The environment I live in isn't exactly conducive towards fire-breathing dragons, but that's fine. I don't really like fire anyway. Instead, we're going to find a frost dragon somewhere. The only thing I was nervous about was the fact that I don't have any frost protection, whereas I do have a fire protection ring. I stumbled into a magical tower with spell tables all over the place, so I assumed it belonged to some kind of wizard. Climbing down into the basement, I found the Guna, and it turned out to be a cryo wizard. He casted a bunch of frost spells at me and did very little damage. Stop that. Ow! Okay, axe time. Where's my axe? There he goes. He dropped a lot of supplies for crafting spells, which reminded me I was supposed to be becoming a blood wizard, wasn't I? I just needed to head home and boil some villagers. I decided I would do that later, after we've killed the dragon. What exactly the cryomancer was doing down there in the basement alone with many different types of inks and lubricants, strikingly high-speed internet, we will never know, but what we do know is that I didn't take a lot of damage while fighting him, which did leaps and bounds for my confidence that we'd be able to deal with this frost dragon. Mounting a nearby ridge, I found one. It was a white-scaled frost dragon that's apparently taken up residence right next to this little tavern, which I thought is handy. If there's any villagers alive in there, I'll be able to drain them after the fight and restore my health. I thought about using my new bow to start the fight, but then I realized I'd basically just be wasting time while I can sneak up on him. He's currently asleep, so I've got the advantage here. All right, Squire. Oh, he's picked me up immediately. Ah. Oh, he's chewing me. I'm doing good damage, though. Don't fly. Oh, I'm getting him. Regenerate, regenerate. I want to crit him. Yes! Got him! Not wanting to get roasted in the sunlight, I quickly headed home. It was now day 179, and I had some dragon scales to make armor with. After making my new armor, I restored some of my blood and then quickly headed back out. I headed back to the Valley of the Dragons, so named after that time I nearly got roasted by the lightning dragon, which I found laying on the ground taking a quite heavy nap. He appears to have been murdered by the nearby fire dragon. They're quite moody creatures, aren't they? Anyway, it's time I tell you about something that I've been cooking. While doing a relatively benign deep slate mining session, I happened to stumble across something amazing. It was a partially cracked open elder dragon nest. Of course, I immediately saved the location using a waystone so that I could come back here. There's a very real possibility if I kill this thing, I can get a dragon egg, and therefore a dragon pet. I was very excited, but also a little bit worried. Now the question is, could I defeat a large dragon like that? If I had full dragon scale armor, I would say yes. I had the dragon scale armor required, but it wasn't enchanted. To get started on that, I got some XP by buying bread, and then thought I'll get started on these vampire quests. By completing quests, I can re-roll them to get better ones. This one gives me some stupid ring, but it has me kill some things which I can get XP from. And not to mention, by killing high-level vampire hunters and vampire barons, there's always the chance that I get a vampire book. Which I did. Ah! Yes! Another book! Ow! You had to ruin it, you bloody twats. Yes, another vampire book. See, doing these quests is good. Oh my god, that's very close to breaking. Let's get home. Though I had the book to level up, interest rates are through the roof, and I now need 20 human hearts to level up a single time. So I headed out to stab some men. Yes! Yes! Glop me. Love it. Love it for us. Thanks to that level up, I was finally able to afford our much-awaited teleport ability. So how does that work? Oh. Just like that. In order to try and cure our heart drought so I could reach the next few levels, I thought I might try and re-roll this man by buying all of his vampire maps. I also thought while I'm here, may as well head over to them, see if we can get some more books. I teleported to my vampire forest, which happened to be very close by. Though the little red arrow on the map there was pointing somewhere very specific, so I thought I might head there. And it's taken me here. Wait, what? Has it taken me here? This is the vampire forest it's talking about? This, like, 3 meter by 3 meter segment? What? Oh, that's so dumb. Especially since there's literally a bigger one over there. Wow. Feel so blessed. It is important that we solve this human heart drought, though. We're only 3 levels away from Vampire Baron rank, which is something I desperately want to get to. But for now, we'll put this in the back of our mind and go back to developing our combat abilities. First things first, we need to upgrade our bow. Since we've abandoned this stupid slime dirt method, this is how I'm going to be getting my crystals. Unfortunately, this is a terrible example for me to show you, because there's no damn crystals here, but here we go. I found one. Here we are. These orange-flavored crystals. I can glue them onto my bow, and we'll have a stronger bow somehow. I spent quite a while finding more of these geode things. They weren't hard to find, but I needed a lot of these crystals, and each one only had 2 or 3 farmable crystals in it. Since I was starving to death, I headed home on day 182. I didn't have all the crystals I needed, but I had gotten a few. Thank you, Glopmare. It requires over a full stack of these crystals to get a single power level. It's not that good, but it's something. I'm not going to be spending my entire playthrough gathering these crystals, so this will have to do. I then made a new waystone to put in our vampire village. I recognize this might be evidence of my laziness. The village really isn't that far away, but... Shut up. I then topped up my blood levels using the cows again. I'm on kind of a villager cleanse. Reason being, I actually want to do some trading in our new vampire village, and the extortionate prices I get for draining villagers of their blood is not really working out, so I'm gonna have to be kinder to them. Ugh. Anyway, Waystone. Vampire Village. On day 183, we managed to complete our first vampire quest. I got some stupid ring that had stupid effects, so I tossed it in the hole. But far more importantly, we got a new quest, and this one gives us 8 human hearts as a reward. And all we have to do is stab 4 hunters, which I'm pretty much doing every day anyway. Thanks to the sheer amount of vampire books we have now, and the presence of these quests for hearts, our power was likely to increase rather rapidly. To help catalyze the process, I thought it's about damn time I become a blood mage. I put all my magical things into a little chest next to my cauldron, and then set up a secondary cauldron by which I can gather blood. I wasn't really sure how this boiling process was supposed to work, so I thought I'd test it on some cows first and see if that would work. Right, step in the cauldron. I think he's too big. I kept trying through the day, but by nighttime I was a bit bored. So I thought, Geneva Conventions be damned, we're just gonna boil some villagers. You just happened to sleep in here, didn't you, Bartholomew? Put that there. Oh! Oh! Ugh. Well, we've boiled our first villager. Don't look at me like that. It was an accident. In order to complete my new vampire quests, I needed a reliable source of vampire hunters. My solution was to spend a couple of days exploring until I found one of these. It's a vampire hunter outpost, and within its walls, vampire hunters will continuously spawn so long as I'm nearby. They're very prejudiced like that, but the reason it's so useful is because these named vampire hunters will spawn more frequently. And as we've learned, they happen to drop vampire books at a very good rate. When I wasn't doing quests, I was focusing on building my vampire village. I re-rolled this man until I got a mending enchantment, and then made myself some new armor using the dragon scales we got, and enchanted it using the XP I obtained from murdering vampire hunters. I also cannibalized a few vampire barons because I needed their special blood for leveling up rituals. And I've also used the boiled villager blood to craft myself some new blood spells, like this glorp spell here. It's actually terrible. It does very little damage, but it does heal a lot. Ow! It doesn't keep away the JC Penny altruist, though. All of these things together meant that the infrequency of leveling up was a thing of the past. And it was looking very possible that I might be able to achieve the rank of Vampire Lord before the end of this video. Which I'm very excited about, because it means I get my own vampire minion. It feels so good inside of my body. With all of our recent upgrades, I figured it's time for us to finally fight that dragon in the nest we found. If everything went to plan, me killing this dragon should result in myself obtaining a dragon egg, which I can then hatch and have a dragon child. One of the new spells I've managed to obtain is Summon Dead. It gives me a bunch of minions. After summoning my creatures, I jumped in and started slashing, and immediately fell through the floor because he broke it. Damn it! When I returned, all of my minions were dead, so that was good. Shoot up. I can't hit him. I can hit his feet. Oh my god, my health. Oh! Can I even get out of here? Oh, I got him. Oh, I'm hitting him! Yes! Let's go home. Woo! Let's fill up on blood and go back. I'm still impaled! What is this impalement I keep experiencing? Ow! Ow! I can't move anywhere because of these spikes. Okay, we're just gonna shoot him. Oh, we're hitting him. Whoa, careful. Impaled again. Oh boy. Oh, he's nearly dead. Stab! Flying bat stab! Oh, he's bitten me. I can't see him! Oh, this sucks. Okay, we're draining him. I'm gonna have to shoot him. Oh! My health! Oh, that was horrible. Did not enjoy. He's dead. Well, she's dead, rather. Unfortunately, as it turned out, my pronoun game was actually on point. I was very confused after harvesting the body that I didn't find any eggs. And the reason for this is because it was a male. Ain't no amount of Netflix or massages that could have convinced this guy to grow eggs. I'm so irritated. I mean, I guess I should be proud that it was a hell of a fight and we did manage to kill the dragon. So we got something out of it, but my god. I'm just so depressed. Oh, I'm also starving. Great. I returned home, depressed, but needing to trade with my villagers. I had run out of arrows extremely quickly in that fight. Also, I noticed I have a luck buff. This is due to a blue moon being in the sky at the minute. What it means is I'll get additional loot from chests, so I thought I might go back to that ancient city we've been to before and see what I can find. I didn't find all that much, but I did find some legendary spells. I've decided I can only use blood spells since I'm a vampire, but I can use these to get inks and make more spells that I can use. I might not have been able to make an omelet from the dragon, but I was able to make myself some new armor. I had a good amount of XP to burn too, so I thought I'd enchant it. And I got a fortifying enchantment, which gives me a hell of a lot of health. Oh yes, look at that health. Drunk on my own power, I decided to give the Ferrous Rortnaut a go. I think that's how it's pronounced, I'm actually not sure. Summoned my undead friends again, hopefully this time they won't die immediately. I found after waking him up that he was immune to all damage, which didn't look good for me, as I was wondering if there might be some complicated mechanics I'm supposed to understand. All it was though is he sticks his axe in the ground and then you can hurt him. Ah! What? He's dead! What a puss. Next, I turned my attentions to the Dragon Valley. These men had almost killed me a few weeks ago, and so I thought it's time for some payback. Whoa. Oi, don't tag team me. What's that about? I was also secretly hoping that by going dragon slaying, I might run into a dragon large enough to drop eggs. It wasn't very likely, but there was a slim chance. Nerds. Absolute nerds, both of you. It was a bronze dragon, that one. No eggs from either of these blokes. My ambitions led to slaying a lightning dragon next, but the rain stopped and I had to don my umbrella and wait till nighttime. One of the greatest things about getting trapped on this tree was there were gigantic wandering spiders below me, with some of the deadliest venom in the entire spider kingdom. I was a lucky boy, though, and they weren't able to climb up to me due to the thick tree canopy, and I was able to wait until nighttime unvenomated. But apparently, manners are not something well understood in the spider kingdom. As I engaged the lightning dragon, some of the spiders decided to crawl out of the woods and join in. The giant spider. Can I not fight the giant spider as well, please? Please? It's just about the worst thing ever. There's two of them. Oh, no. And a ghost. While I was cowering in a cave, the undead minions I'd spawned had managed to finish off the dragon, and now I just had to deal with the giant spiders. Oh my god. Please no. Ah! Oh! That was miserable. Dear god, I think I've had that exact nightmare before. Two giant wandering spiders. I spent that entire night with my minions cornering dragons, but didn't get a single egg. Get him, lads! Eat his eyes! What kind of dragon was it? It was a stage 3. Very rare to find more than stage 3 around, but I'm holding out hope. One of the benefits of the horrifying spider encounter I just endured was that I was able to make this sword. It's not terribly powerful, but what it does do is inflict things with a venom that can't be resisted and does 10 damage per second. It's actually pretty damn good if you pair it with a weapon that actually deals damage. The following day, I came across a nice little village off in the wasteland. This was very crucial for my coming plans. And wouldn't you know it, this place actually had a bloody waystone in it. So I was able to quickly save it and head home. Because it is. In order to obtain my next vampire level, I needed 25 hearts. This is a hell of a lot more than the 4 I have in my inventory, so I thought I might try a new strategy of obtaining them. I leveled up this guy, the vampire expert. It's my belief that he can sell hearts. However, he decided not to because he's a bastard. So I had to go back to my tried and tested strategy of killing vampire hunters. I'd already found one of these before, but I forgot where it was, so this time I brought a waystone with me so that I can zip back whenever I need more hearts. Or more murderings if I have a quest to do so. A non-zero number of ethical organ extractions later, and I was able to level up once again. This time to vampire level 14, which I'm told is the maximum level I can obtain. But that's not quite true. I can get to higher levels if I please vampire aristocracy. This is a new quest available to me at level 14, and if I complete all of the tasks, I'll be given a rank of vampire lordship. Which kind of raises the question, who's this guy? And why is he able to bestow vampiric elder god powers? One of the tasks we have to complete is we have to win 3 village raids, which is why our new village is going to come in handy. I didn't mention this before, but this village is actually controlled by the vampire hunters. And so by fiddling with the beacon like this, I'm going to begin a raid. As is normally my experience with Minecraft raids, I spent 2 minutes fighting the raiders and 85 minutes looking for the one remaining raider who's managed to get stuck in a ravine. But eventually I was done, and this was now a vampire village. Next thing I had to do was infect 25 creatures. This was problematic because I didn't know how to do that. I'm not very good at spreading venereal disease, or getting it, I suppose. Eventually, I figured out on my little ability wheel here, I have an infect ability if I'm standing behind something. This trivialized the task because I was able to just infect my herd of cows. I didn't want to infect all of them though, so I headed outside for the rest. After having completed my infection task, I continued exploring in the hopes I would find another village. And after losing my patience 2.5 minutes later, I headed back to the village we just captured and decided to try a cheeky little idea. My idea was if I break a totem, therefore abandoning this village for the vampires, could I then place another totem and it counts as winning a raid? Now, does this count as winning a raid? If so, nice. Yes, captured by vampires. Now, did that count? It did! In which case, abandoned, under attack by vampires. Oh, I feel like this is probably going to get patched, but yes. Now we just wait again. So then that will mean that I now am a vampire baron, or vampire lord. And then we just need gold ingots, pure blood, 0 of... Oh no. Is this saying I need 5 pure blood 5s? That might be a problem. I thought this would cause a problem, but it turned out it didn't. Apparently my powers of divination were settling in, as I had been apparently stocking up on my pure blood 5 and had 4 in storage. It's probably nice and warm by now, it hasn't been refrigerated, but oh well. The point is, I only had to murder 1 level 5 vampire baron in order to get all of the blood that I needed. And I was then able to fly in and complete my quest, which rather unceremoniously just dinged and then I was a vampire baron. This unlocked a new skill tree, and all of these skills seem to revolve around my vampire minion. So, where is he? I don't know. I knew I had to claim a minion, so I teleported back to the vampire lands and found out that the Cyclops we had completely forgotten about 50 days ago has gotten so overpowered he's become blighted. Naturally, in a very responsible fashion, I decided to continue ignoring the problem, hoping it would go away, and I ran into a regular vampire that I could potentially claim as my minion. I was then informed by the game that I need a vampire minion binding in order to claim this man as my minion. That's right, even as a vampire baron, you can't claim minions without the proper paperwork. Checking in on my now blighted vampire representative, he doesn't have the correct quest for me to get the minion reward, but he does have the quest for me to get to the next lord level. I figure I may as well do that while I'm waiting. What followed was a repetitive series of murders in which I got to use my new vampire fang sword. I was also forced to deal with the blighted Cyclops problem. Whoa, that was close. You fool, Cyclops! Don't you see my undead minions? My undead minions are just eating them, slowly eating them. Oh, no, he's eating my minions. Stop that! Oh, I hit him in the eye. I blinded him, like Odysseus. I did not know that was a thing. After he died, he dropped a legendary artifact known as the Cyclops Eye. Apparently if I hold it, everything around me does less damage. So I decided to hold a squishy eye in my hand for the rest of the playthrough. Now I had all my royal vampire blood, all I needed to do was murder a whole bunch of vampire hunters. I thought before I do that, I should master some more blood spells. So I needed another volunteer to quickly boil himself. Turns out the dude I chose was a bit of a psycho. He kept boiling himself again and again. He's been mildly boiled. There actually weren't too many new spells to choose from, so I just upgraded everything I already have. I can't understate how good Raise Dead is, though. Kind of strange that it's a blood spell. You'd think it's kind of like necromancy or something, but I'm not complaining. Current strat is stab them with the venom sword, and then let the undead just chew them to death. For me, as someone who considers reaching to the top shelf to gather a new pack of Pop-Tarts exercise, I'm enjoying the lack of labor I have to do. And with that, we're now a Viscount. Strange how aristocracy works, I don't fully understand it. After having completed 8 million quests, I was finally given my vampire minion scroll, and was now able to consensually transform this man into a minion. Oh, minion. As Minion and I were under attack, I tried to stab the man with my spider sword, and accidentally stabbed Minion in the process. Uh-oh. I think I just killed Minion. He very nearly died, but didn't. Yeah, Minion used that. Can you use that? Oh, you can. Ooh. Minion. Change Minion appearance. Use Lord Skin. I can make it pasty. Get one that kind of mildly fits the skin tone. Oh yes, this one. Perfect. Yes, it's perfect. Minion! What do I call you though? It's Kim. Kim is here. Professor Beans. How do I heal you, Professor Beans? Can I give you hearts? Aha! He will eat the hearts. Ooh, that is a very inefficient way of him healing. Well, Professor Beans, let's get you some armor, shall we? I enchanted Professor Beans some armor with the XP I had gained doing vampire quests. Professor Beans and I were then kitted out and ready to do our final assault. You might remember some time ago I promised we would enter this dragon crypt. I know from experience that they are incredibly difficult to conquer, but I'm hoping Professor Beans and I can complete one. Right outside of the crypt I managed to find a whole bunch of dread guys, like the ones that had assaulted my house a while ago, and by killing their leader I got a key which opened the door. Are you ready, Professor Beans? In order to prepare for this assault, I had bought a considerable amount of human hearts from a vendor. Yes, I finally managed to unlock this trade. Weirdly, it was from a weaponsmith. I don't understand that either. I split the stack 50-50 with Professor Beans, and then headed inside. Yeah. Whoa. Uh-oh. I feel like it's the close quarteredness of in here that's going to be a problem, I think. But I think with my minions, we will be okay. Get him, Professor Beans. Don't forget to eat. Oh my god, there's so many dogs. Go, Professor Beans! Ooh, I am actually losing health here. Uh-oh. Oh boy. Oh wow, that's a lot of them. I need to eat. Ah! No! Regenerate! Professor Beans, save me! Ah! Oh no! I'm gonna use my blood spells. Oh boy, this is bad. These guys hurt, man. Ow! Ow, 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 ow. Oh, okay, okay. This is a bad time for a spooky boy like myself to be out in the snow, but oh, that sword is so good. Where is Professor Beans? Oh, he's dead. Good job, Professor Beans, you died. It's now day 200. Well, I'll be damned if I'm not gonna get in here. You gotta break the spawners as we go through, I think. Otherwise we'll just get overwhelmed. Oh! Professor Beans is back! Defend me, Professor Beans! I think what we need to do is lure them all over. Quickly go in. Break this. Maybe we can sneak in here in bad form. Break this. Get him, lads! Where's Professor Beans? Get him, Professor Beans! Get in there! Get in there, Beans! Uh-oh. Oh, we're starving. Uh-oh. What is this? How have I ended up here? I think I might have teleported by accident. My lord, I have died. Oh, Professor Beans, you're so polite. Terribly sorry, old bean. I appear to have died. Ah, Professor Beans, you're back. We've made very little progress, I'm going to be honest, Professor Beans. Iron dragon armor? Oh, yes. Professor Beans just murdered someone. Okay, we're going to get down there very quickly. Break a thing. Oh. What? That's what? Break? Okay, I broke. Ah, and now we need to get back out of this hole. My god. My lord, I have died. Okay, the herd seems to have thinned out significantly. My zombies have been doing some work. Aha. I think that's the last one in here. Professor Beans is still dead, of course. Yes! We did it! What are these? I think these are my rewards, whatever this is in the middle. Yes, block of dragon bones. Ah, Professor Beans. You're back! But these dragon bone blocks, eh? And what is this? Dragon Forge ice brick. I assume the central one is important. Dragon Forge ice aperture. What? Oh, and I can't craft this. So I've found an ingredient to the Dragon Forge that is uncraftable. I suppose that what that probably means is I could create a Dragon Forge. Okay, let's get out of here and get home. We can just teleport, I think. Sangareville. The Dragon Forge. But we don't have A, dragon, or B, everything else for the Dragon Forge. Interesting. Well, anyway, that about wraps this up, I suppose. There's room for improvement if we wanted to go further, but for now, we're done. Day 201, actually. I went a little bit over, but that's fine. And I'm gonna wrap this up before I roast. It's very soon gonna be morning. Thank you so much to the patrons. This has been very fun. I enjoyed going a bit further. We have some room to grow. We could get ourselves a nice dragon, Professor Beans. We could make the Dragon Forge. Or we could leave it here. It really depends. But for now, I'd like to thank just a few patrons. Pick them at random. Pumpkin, Zero Heart, 7, Sweet Potato, and Tim Rocket. Oh, Professor Beans and I are starting to roast. Okay, we're going inside. And look, I did make the upper floor.